Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa. We will be doing transaction desk today. Just give me another few seconds here. I just want to make sure we have most of our attendees on class here. Just a couple things here real quick. We have Debbie that's going to be online with us, just checking for questions today as we go. We're going to be going through transaction desk and Authentisign. And if you do have a question, on the right side of your screen, you have an area where you can go ahead and type in your question on the right side. And then Debbie can let me know if we have questions and I can stop and answer them, or if she can answer them, she will answer them for you. Also, Debbie has attached handouts for you. These handouts will walk you through everything we're doing today. So if you look on the right side of your screen, you should have under handouts, there should be 5 of them, I believe. Yes, there's 5 of them. These are PDF. They're very easy to walk through. They'll take you through step by step. So if you want to follow through with this later on, just to refresh your memory, or if you need help, this is a great way to go. Also, let me just take a look here real quick. I just want to see if anyone else, it looks like we only have a few on right now. So give them a few more seconds here before we get started. So the first thing I'll want you to do is go ahead and go into your Paragon. We're going to start off in there. So get logged into Paragon so that we can follow along. And meanwhile, let's see what we've got on here. Give me 1 second here just to get this all ready to go. And what I'll be doing is actually turning off my video camera and turning on my screen so you can see my screen as we go. It's going to be much easier to see a full view. And I just want to make sure I've got my Paragon up and running and ready to go for you. Okay, so let's get logged in here. Okay, perfect. Alrighty, so let's see. Do we have hopefully a few more people got on with us? And it looks like we only have a few. So hopefully the others will be able to catch up. But I want to get started. I don't want to waste too much time, so I have enough time to go through everything with you. So we're going to start off in Paragon first. And the reason I'm starting in Paragon is I'm going to show you a couple ways to write your contracts. If you are writing an offer, start off in Paragon, find the listing, and from there you will click on a link that will take you right to Transaction Desk. You can also start right in Transaction Desk, and then also we'll go into, yes.
You're not sharing your screen.
Yes, I haven't got to that point yet. Yep, I'm going to come in a second. Yep. Oh, I just wanted to explain real quick. Thanks, Deb, though. All right, so let's get started here. It's still locking me in. That's why I was waiting. There it goes. Okay. All righty, so let me just get my screen up and running. And again, just make sure you're logged into Paragon if you haven't already. 1 second to share my screen real quick here. And share screen. Deb, it's not allowing me to share my screen. Are you still on? Oh, there it goes.
There you go. Sorry, I forgot one button.
Got it now. Thank you. Okay, so we should be on screen now. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn off everything else and turn off my video camera. Okay, so we're going to get started. And everyone should be on their Paragon homepage. So we're going to pull up a listing. And actually, I'm going to pull up a listing for mine are all closed. So give me 1 second here. And I'm going to grab one from another agent so I can have someone that we know. I'm actually going to pull up Colleen's listing. And that way we can use hers in case it accidentally gets sent to her. I can let her know that these are not real offers. Once we go into Authentisign, I'm going to have you send them out. And I'm going to give you property address. Let's see what she has here. And it is up here in Paragon, in your top screen where your power search is. You can go ahead and put this address in. It is 1871 Cove. And as you type it in, it should find it for you. If we find multiple, then we'll find the active one. Here it is, the very first one. So this one's in Wales. So 1871 Cove, and that's in Wales, Michigan. Now, if you have a property, an offer or something transaction desk, go ahead and you can use that property if you'd like. Otherwise, you can use Colleen's here. It's 1871 Cove, C-O-V-E. And this should pull up for you. Okay, so once the listing pulls up, we're going to look for these icons. So if you have the Legacy Full Agent Report, which is what I'm viewing right now, you've got these shortcuts that are going to be on the left side of your screen under your name. And what we're looking for is our Transaction Desk icon. It says Start a Transaction. It's a little blue square. It's got lines running through it. If we're using agent detail report or the big agent detail, I think was big map, those are typically in the center. So just look for this little blue icon. You're going to go ahead and select that. That's going to pull the information from that listing into Transaction Desk for you. Give it a second to load. Once it loads, you should see this pop-up box. And when this opens up, we're going to actually fill in some information here. This is going to set up your transaction in the wizard for you. Now, the wizard is the best way to go. I've done this for many years. The wizard will auto-save as you go. So if your computer freezes or if you have to stop, it also auto-saves. If for some reason your computer turns off, it saves everything you've done along the way. But I honestly go through this so you don't miss a step as well, too. In case you're in a rush, just always make sure that you get everything in that you need. So if you look at the top, it should have the property address. Under the name, there's templates. Now, if you don't have any, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to create these. Templates are your forms put together in a package, so you can select those and everything drops in your wizard for you. So for example, with my drop-down menu, you can see I have multiple in here, and I'm going to be looking for my buyer package. So mine is right here is my buyer package, and that's the one I'm going to select. If you don't have any, again, don't worry about it. We will be adding your forms in, but if you do, go ahead and select the one you want with the buyer. We want a purchase agreement is what we're looking for. Then it's going to import your data from MiRealSource. It should have the MLS number in there. And at the bottom, make sure it says to add me as the selling agent. Okay, and you can see it's this drop-down menu gives you an option of doing listing agent as well. Top right says create. We're going to go ahead and create this and get started. And just give it a minute to load here. Okay, so as it loads, it's going to create this wizard that has 5 steps. Very easy to walk through. I'm going to walk you through. When you're doing a listing, you're going to go through the same steps. So any transaction you do in here, once you start this wizard, you're going to see the same 5 steps. First one is details, which is the information on that listing, property address, any information it might have on here as far as legal, school district, and so forth. The idea of filling this out is so it pre-fills some of your contracts for you. So I'm going to go down a little bit further on this, and in the middle section here, you're going to see listing information on the left with the price, purchase information on the right. Now we're going to put in our purchase price since we're writing an offer. No decimals, no number signs, no commas. All you're going to do is just put in the price. So they're asking $3,999 for a little bit more since we're starting to get busy again in this market. And under your purchase price is a deposit. What is the amount of your client's EMD? We're going to type that in. So obviously it's a larger property, so I'm going to give it a little bit more. And on the left side, if you scroll down a little bit further, it's going to say property includes, property excludes. So if they want the appliances, I'm going to type in here all appliances. If the seller has something in their listing that they're taking with them, maybe excludes a hot tub, you can put on their hot tub. Now the idea again is that it pre-fills on our contract. It may pre-fill, it may not. But again, I try to fill in as much as this information that I know typically fills into the contracts that I use. But again, it might be different than yours. And we're going to go up to the top here. So if you look at the bottom, you have a save and exit. If you hit save and exit, it's going to take you out of the wizard. So we want to stay at the top section here where it says previous and next. If you need to go back for some reason, always hit previous. Don't hit your back arrow because that might actually log you out of a transaction desk. If you hit next, it's going to take us to our next step. Okay, so next is our transaction dates. We're writing an offer, so the important dates for us is going to be our closing date. So if you scroll down a little bit further here on the left side, you'll notice toward the bottom closing date. So go ahead and select whatever the closing date is. And I'm going to go ahead and just select April 1st. And then it has a possession date in here as well. Possession date would be obviously when they're receiving their keys. If you're giving them occupancy, this date's going to change. So maybe they need an extra 30 days after that. So you can go ahead and put in that date. Occupancy, typically, I don't see it pull into my contract, but sometimes it does, depending on the contract. So go ahead and type that in. And then at the top, we're going to hit our next button. Okay, so now we are on our contacts. So what you're going to notice is you're going to see the listing broker and the listing agent on here. but then you should see yourself as a selling agent and the selling broker as your office. We need our buyers at this point. So now you can add whatever is needed for this transaction. It doesn't have to be just buyers. If there's a parent that wants to review the contract, you can add them. If you want to include an attorney, a title company, so you can send it to them, mortgage company, whoever you want to include, you can. When you're adding in Transaction Desk, as you're running through this, there's always an add with a plus button. So you're going to look in the top right of your screen, and it's right over here. It says add and plus. You're going to select that, and you have 4 options. You can create a new contact. You can add an existing one that's in your address book. Now, your address book is whoever's you're adding into Transaction Desk. So every time you're creating a transaction and you add those contacts, it drops into your address book. So those are already in here. You can add yourself, or you can pull from your Google contacts. So we're going to create new. Select create new transaction contact. And at the top, first option is your type. So if you click on that drop-down menu, you're going to select who you're adding. So we're going to add our buyers, Mr. Buyer and Mrs. Buyer. So I'm going to add Mr. Buyer first. And the 2 items you need in here that are mandatory to even save them is a first and last name. And then we want to add our email address. Because we are doing Authentisign, we want to use our own email address because obviously this is just a class test. So I'm going to go ahead and add Mr. Buyer first. And I actually make up names for my buyers so I don't confuse them with my real buyers. Mr. Loaded. And I'm going to add my email address below that. So go ahead and add first, last name, and email address, which again, you want your own email address for this. If you are doing an actual transaction that you're on, then obviously you're going to want to add in those items, that actual buyer and their. I don't know if you want to add their email address right away. You can add your own and send it to yourself first, and then go back and change it and send it to them again. It's up to you. Under your email, so you can see where it says legal name, preferred signature, preferred initials. Now, if Mr. Loaded, if this was his real name and this is how his signature is to appear, I'm not going to do anything more. I'm done. And it'll automatically add it to my address book for me. If my client is buying it with his LLC, which I have an investor that buys everything as LLC, then this is going to be a little different. First and last name that appears here is actually going to be typed underneath their signature line. Whatever you type in here is going to be their actual signature. So for example, if this is my client and he has got an LLC and his LLC is, Homes Investments and then LLC, that's what I'm going to type in here because that's actually what his LLC is. But when he signs, I want his real name. So in here, I'm going to now put Mr. Loaded. I had a client that was Mr. Loaded, but anyway, so this is how you would set this up. So again, whatever's being typed underneath the signature line here, whatever their actual name for their signing name will be under here. And again, if it's the same, you don't have to touch this. So I'm going to leave this way just so you can see how it appears on the contract. And that's all I need here. You do have an option to add an address, but everything else should be good. So we're going to hit save in the top right corner. Alrighty, so we are now still back in our contacts, but we now have to add Mrs. Buyer. So same steps. We're going to select add and plus, create new transaction contact, and you're going to do the same steps with her. Select your type, first and last name, and then your email address. Now, when you are setting these up, we have to do them each separate because they have separate signature lines. They can have the same email address. You can send it to both. All right, so we're going to do type, buyer, journeyman, name is well. Names are a little off, but again, it tells me it's not a real client, so use them, and my email address as well. And we won't have to put in, the preferred signature on this one. We'll just leave I'm just going to leave the other one for you. So type, first name, last name, email address. Now, again, if you have additional people that need to be involved in this transaction, this is where you can add them at this point. Also under add, if you already have them in your address book, I just want to show you real quick. If you go to existing contact, it's going to open up your address book for you. There's a search window up here. You can type in whoever it is and it will find them. You just click on that circle and add, and it drops them in for you. Okay, so our contacts are here. So let's go ahead and select next. Okay, so now we are to our forms. If you selected a template, you should see forms in here. If you did not or didn't have one to select, then we are going to add them in. So if you look again to the right of your next, we're going to select add. And the main thing I want to have you add in here is obviously a purchase agreement. And we're going to add in, we'll do our seller's disclosure. So you should see a folder for your office. You should also see multiple folders with associations. So all the different associations are in here. MiRealSource, MAR, Michigan Association of Realtors is in here as well. So they all have different forms in here. So to find a form, you're just going to select it. So for example, if I want to go to Michigan Realtors, I would just click on that name. It opens it up for you. And once it's opened, let me move this over a little bit. Hang on 1 second, my box is in the way. So as it opens it up, you will look for whatever contract you're looking for. So for example, if I want the buy and sell agreement through Michigan Association of Realtors, I would just click on the box here on the right side to select it. It drops it in this basket for me. When you're done with this folder, if you need more, you would just go back to the top. If it's in a different folder, you hit back to individual forms, takes you back to all your folders, and then you can select whatever you need to. So then you can go to your office folder, for example, and find whatever contract you need out of here. Maybe you need an exclusive buyer agency agreement and select that. Once you have everything you need selected, then you click on your basket, and now you can add these in. So just make sure you've got what you want. So I've got my buy and sell agreement, buyer agency, and my add button's right above it. So I'm going to select add, and that's going to drop it in for me. So this is only if you need additional forms. If you don't need any more, then you're set. You would just hit next to go to the next section. Okay. Go ahead and hit next. All right. So since this listing is in Paragon, it was actually obviously Colleen belongs to MiRealSource. It will automatically pull her disclosures and drop them in here for you, which is a wonderful thing. It makes our life so much better. If they are an agent that uses RealComp or one of the other MLSs, RealComp uses what's called Remind. And what I'm finding with Remind is if they have their disclosures in there and you open it up, it opens up another window in Remind, and a lot of times you find it's blank. If they're blank, it's because you have to clear your history, your browser history. It seems to be the only way to fix this. I'm not quite sure why it's causing this, but we had a few agents going through the same thing, myself as well, and it seemed when I cleared my browsing history, it took care of it. So when you're clearing history, like for example, I'm in Firefox right now, in the top right corner of your screen, you've got 3 lines, and in here actually has a history section. Oops, it's not going to give it to me in here right now because there it is. Okay, history. And then you'll actually have to go to clear recent history, and it's going to go in there and it'll give you options. So you need to make sure you're clearing I believe your cookies, and there's a couple other items, but that should take care of it for you. If you still have problems, call our tech support, but that seems to be the issue right now is browsing history for some reason. Okay, so that is basically, it's going to sum it up for you. If you have to deal with Remind, that's the way to fix it if there's an issue. Okay, so let's go to, alrighty, so we are looking at our documents right now. So with the documents, this is anything that is a PDF that you are adding into your transaction. So for example, disclosures, I can pull in my client's pre-approval letter. I can pull in a copy of their EMD. Anything that is already a completed document will go in here. When you do a signing, all your signing items will come in here as well. So once they're completed, it comes in here, because what it does is it creates a PDF of everything. So once you have that PDF, it drops into your documents. It's like a storage folder for you. It keeps all your file together. Anything completed goes in here. Your forms, which we already were working on, those are open documents that you actually can fill in. These you cannot. So that's the difference between the two. So we have right now our disclosures in here. If you didn't, or you need to add something else, same thing as we did before, we look for that add button in the top right, click on that. And you can either drag and drop them in here in this box, so you can find your folder with all your documents. So if I open up my folder below here, and I go down to my downloads, and I pick up, one of these, let's see, we'll use my data sharing map, and I drop it in here, then that will save it in here. And you can drop multiple, so I can highlight multiple and drag them in. The other option, when you select add, is you can click in this box, and then you can find it on your computer. So I can hit downloads again and find whatever it is that I need from here. So I'll just do This report, just it's a PDF and it opens and drops it in as well. And you can see it drops at the bottom here. Okay, so those are your options for adding those in. Okay, so let's see here. You should be good. So you can see there's a trash button here, so you can trash it. Now, once you're done with the wizard, you do have more options in each item, whether it's your documents or forms, which I'll show you as we get through this. But this is your last step of your wizard. So if we've got our disclosures in here, we're all set. We're going to select done at this point. Okay, and now it's going to load and take us to our dashboard. So your dashboard is your main page of any transaction. And when you do create a transaction, it automatically creates this folder. And then the steps that we just walked through, it's going to be on the right side of your screen. And if you don't see them, they sometimes minimize. So if you look here at the top, you should have 3 green lines and then your little shopping cart. So if you select those 3 green lines, you can see the wizards at the top. So if you accidentally hit save and exit, that will you can go back to your wizard right from here. Dashboard is what we're on right now. We went through our details. I'm going to walk you through all of these, but these are the items that you'll be going through that you can just go through individually without going through the wizard. So again, dashboard is what we're on right now. Second one is details. So if you select details, you should be able to see everything we did on our first step when we started our transaction. If you need to make changes later, instead of going through the wizard, you can select each one of these and make your changes as well. Contacts, that was where we added our buyers, our forms, which is our contracts, our signings. So we'll be doing those shortly after we're done with our transaction desk. So we'll be adding those in. Our documents are our disclosures or anything we upload in here. And then we have options for a checklist. Now the checklist allows you to put items in there that you need to make sure you do with a transaction. That's kind of like your own way of making sure you don't forget something. So I haven't honestly used a checklist. A few people do use them and they seem to like them. So you can add the items and again, just look for that add button whenever you're adding something in here. Under checklist, the task. Now, if you use a task button, that allows you to put an item in that you need to do and send yourself a reminder. So for example, order sign, order title work, and then send yourself reminders and give yourself dates. Inspection needs to be done by a certain date, email reminders. So this is a great way too, if you want a reminder that actually will send you something to let you know instead of you having to go in to check what needs to be done. Call logs under there. Call logs is works, I guess, well if maybe if you're on a team and you can keep track of conversations you have with your clients. Service orders, this allows you to add additional companies, maybe your mortgage company and different companies you deal with that you want to send in, the contracts to order your title work and so forth. History, this keeps track of everything you've done. So if you click on your history, everything we've done to this point should be on here. And the nice thing about history is if I email this and I forget maybe who I emailed it to, or I want to make sure it went out, or double check what email, you have an I here on the right. This will give you more information about what you just did. So for example, for my document uploaded, it tells you what's been uploaded, the new document, and so forth, but it will tell you the email address. Okay, under our history, home warranty, we have a couple of things here that are newer that I haven't used yet, but this gives you options. I guess there's a home warranty company. If I want to request it through this company that they have in here, it must be a preferred company. And under home warranty on the right, title order, same thing. It looks like it's got, you can add your title company, send all the information to them to place your order. Last thing is marketplace. Again, these are items that you'll probably have to pay additional for. So we have a lot of things in here. There's a lot in transaction desk, so you have a lot to go through. So you might need some of these items. I'm not quite sure, but you can look at them later on. All right, let's go back to our transaction, and I'd like to go back to our forms. So we have gone in, we've added everyone we need to, we've added the forms that we want, we have our disclosures, but now I need to fill in my forms. They're not completed. So let's go to our purchase agreement. So go ahead and find your purchase agreement. Again, just click on your forms on the right if you're not the same place as me, and look for your buy and sell agreement or purchase agreement. I've got mine, here's my Michigan one, I'll select that one. Okay, so as this opens up, you can see what's filled in and what hasn't. So office information, all of that is filled in for me. My legal filled in. I selected all appliances, that's in. I excluded the hot tub, that came in. my offer amount. So you can see quite a few things did. Now, method of payment, these are ones that you have to actually click on the box and select. So we'll say this is cash, but you'll be filling all that in. I've got information about title insurance in here. I still need to fill in my provisions for my real estate taxes. So again, there's still going to be quite a few items in here that need to be filled in, but closing date came in. So you can kind of see what's been pulled in, what hasn't. It kind of gives you a better idea for what you need to do for the next time. So EMD came in as well. So you would come back in here, fill in the rest of the items, and save this. Now it's supposed to auto save. I always hit save again just to make sure before I pull another contract. So once you're done with this one, you go to the top left of your screen. If you see at the very top here, you have all kinds of options. We're going to go to File. Third one down on the left is File, Save. And the first one's Save again. Not save as PDF. I want it still in open form, but just save. If I need to save a copy to email to someone, then you'll want the PDF format. So File, Save, and Save again. Now I want to go to my next form and fill in whatever's missing on there. So if you look in the top middle of your screen, it says Transaction Forms. That's where we want to go. So go ahead and select Transaction Forms and select what you need next. So I'm going to pick my disclosure regarding real estate agency relationships. So select that. And you can actually just double click on that. It should open it up for me. Click on the name itself. And there it is. So now it loads the next one for you. So again, you'll scroll through here, make sure it says you're a buyer's agent, make sure your names are underneath, each of their, so some of these, again, don't pull in. On my contract, their names appeared underneath their signature lines. On this one, it did not. So again, some of these items you'll have to fill in. So, and he is, I think I put investments. Again, this was my LLC, so I want that name to appear there. Okay. When you're done, again, File, top left, Save, Save again. So again, transaction forms are here in the center, so you would just go through, click on the name of it, it loads the next one. So I'm going to go back to my purchase agreement because I'm going to show you a few other things in here. So if you want to go back in and select your purchase agreement or buy and sell agreement, whichever one. And we're going to go through the different options you have at the top of your screen. So I just pulled my GMAR one. So if you look at the top left, again, under File, so you have an option for File, New is the second one down. So New means I want to select another form. So if I forgot something at this point and realize I forgot my FHAVA addendum, now instead of exiting my form editor, and this is where we're at right now, is our form editor, I'm going to add another one right directly in here. So I'm going to go in here. I'll go under my office, and I'm going to go down to my FHAVA addendum. Again, select in the right side, and then just hit OK at the top right corner, and that's going to drop it into my transaction forms here in the center. So I now have that in here. If you go back up to the top left again under File, if you go to Open Form, this is the same thing as your transaction form, same folder. So it's going to open that folder again for you. All your contracts are in here. Select what you need. Just click on the name, and that will drop it in there for you to start filling it out. Go back up to File again. Under File, we went through Save. So you have the option to Save, which is your open form that you're editing, or save as a PDF, and it will download a PDF copy for you too on your computer. File, Copy. Copy I've used, for example, if I have a client which ends up writing more than one offer, which seems to be the thing nowadays, because they, with all the, as busy as our market is, it hasn't been too crazy, but it's getting to that point again. I like using my disclosure regarding agency relationship. Instead of having them do a new one every single time, I already have one. A lot of times I will just copy it in here, or I can go from here and actually send it into my email, send a copy, or I can even just save a PDF and drop it onto my computer. So that way, instead of doing another one, I can actually send this over into another transaction, and I can upload it to the next one. Now, remember, if you are sending another copy of this, it is going to be PDF, so make sure everything's filled out that you need on here first, then send it over or copy it. I also use Copy for addendums. So whenever you fill in an addendum, a lot of times you've got to remember your list date on it, or actually your contract date most of the time for an offer. And I always forget, I have to go back and search my purchase agreement and see what my contract date is. So I like copying them because I'll have it in there already from one that I've created. And then I just remove what I have in the addendum and add in my new wording. And then I know everything else is in there that I need. So again, you have an option to copy right here. Erase. Be very careful. If you erase, it's going to erase everything you've typed into these contracts. You probably don't want to use this one. Watermark. So you have an option to put a watermark in here. And you might want to use this maybe if you have an attorney involved and the attorney wants to review everything before they move forward. So you can drop in that watermark that says draft and then send this to them. But when you come back in here, you want to make sure you go back into your file, watermark, and at the bottom it says remove. So we're going to select remove, and that'll take those out. Under file again, top left corner, if you go down, you've got print. So if I want to print, you can print from here. Now, if I'm meeting with my client and I need them to print, I'm going to print all these. So they're going to do what? Signatures. And I usually don't do the printing from here. I usually will go back in to my folder. I can select multiple and hit print once and drop them all into and send it to my printer all at the same time. So it's a little faster. If you just need one form printed, then you can do it right from here. You can send this form as an email. You can fax it, which it does work. We've tested it. You can send it to documents, and that's how you save it as a PDF into another folder. So if I send this to documents right now, I can save it as a PDF under my documents in here, or if I'm going to send it to another transaction because I've started a new offer for my client, I can actually send it to that folder in their documents. And again, like I said, the agency disclosure, you can send it over to them. That way you have it all in there already, ready to go. And then you have them sign it at that point. Or you can also download your document that's already signed and use that for your next one. So under documents, you have markup. So we have an option to do markups, and you can do those in here, which will take you into documents. You can do them in Authentisign, and I'll show you how those work. Those will be if you need to put a line through something. For example, it's your listing, buyer made offer, your clients are going to counter it. So you want to put lines through things and then, add initials and make your changes. Okay, so under send, you have a help button. So that has some help for you, and then save and exit. If you hit save and exit, it's going to take you out of your form editor back into the page you were, which I think we were still on our dashboard, and it'll take you back in there. Okay, so that's everything under your file. If you look to the right, you have fonts. So you have an option to change those fonts. So if you do, be very careful because it's going to change everything on this page, and you just want to make sure your size isn't too big and it starts cutting things off. So under style, if I want to change it from Helvetica bold, maybe I like Times, I can go Times bold. If I want to change the color, typically I don't, but I did have a newer agent that liked to put everything in red while he was filling it out. And then he went back to review everything to make sure he had everything he needed. And then he switched it back to black. Again, completely up to you, but whatever color you have chosen here, if you don't change it back, is the color your client's going to see. So I probably wouldn't recommend doing like, the pinks or something that's completely off because that might throw things off. I guess the black and blue wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I probably wouldn't do the pink. So I would stick with your black or your blue. The blues actually might not print as well. If you go if you print everything black and white, it might be lighter and harder to read. So I typically stay with. Under color, you have your size. So again, be cautious when you do enlarge it, because if you make it too big, it might cut off. And it looks like this one is so our old system would make everything the same size, and it looks like they fixed this. So if there's a lot of letters in there, it looks like it keeps it smaller. It makes sure that it fits, which I love that. That's a great new feature. So under size, again, whatever size you'd like it. Typically mine's like a 10, 11, maybe even a 12 point. So, okay. And the last thing on here is text functions. I usually don't use this, but again, you can. This will make everything uppercase or everything lowercase, or does, upper and lower, but usually I just type what I need to in here as I go. Okay, so those are your fonts. To the right of fonts, you have clauses. Now, if you don't see a clause button, don't worry. It's probably because you don't have any set up yet. And at the end, hopefully I'll have a few minutes to show you how to create these. A clause is anything that you use over and over again. So for example, I'm going to actually put one in here to show you. Let me go down. You need a multiple line box in order to add these in. So you need to go down to like your additional terms and conditions right here. You have to click in that box. And again, if you don't see clause, I'm going to show you how to do this. So if you look here, other terms and conditions, if you look at the top of clause, It's going to show you your clauses. And if your office has any created, you can click on those first to see. We have a few in here. If the system has any, and let me see, I don't think we have any. No. And if you have any, it should be under your personal. So you find the clause that you want. You can see exactly what it's about. So for example, I have one in here for concessions, or I have one for septic or E&D. So I'm going to select a few of these just to show you what they look like. So I'm going to drop those in. As you drop them in, they go in your basket. Then you select OK, and there they are. So it actually drops it right onto your page for you. These are nice, so you don't have to type in the same one over and over, the same wording. So if you need these, like for example, appliances, I started using that they're included with 0 value because I was getting underwriters kicking it back saying they need it showing on 0 value, they want a new addendum. So this saved me a lot of time. So now I add this in automatically, anyone that's including appliances, so I don't have to worry about it. So again, anything that you might use over and over again, that's the way to, that's what you want to use right there. So, all right. And again, hopefully at the end, we will take a look at that and I will show you how to do it. It's very simple. All right, so that is your clause. To the right of clause, we already looked at our transaction forms. So again, that's your folder with everything that we have added in that we need to fill out. To the right of that, you have a little book. If you are looking at a contract that has multiple pages, which we are, because right now we're looking at our purchase agreement, which are pages, this will actually just move you from page to page. So if I want to go to page 6 without having to scroll through my whole thing, you just click page 6 and it moves it, to that page. If you want to go back to page 1, it moves it back up for you. That's all it does. It just scrolls for you quickly. Right of the book, you have a magnifier. So if you are looking at this page and you're having a hard time reading it, you can go ahead and click on your plus to make it bigger. If it's too big, you can click your minus sign and that will make it smaller for you. If you want it to fit by the width or the height, that's what it'll do here. Okay, to the right of that, this is the tools. I'm going to show you how to do them in here, but also I would suggest doing them in Authentisign. That's where usually I do them. And the reason I like doing them in there, because if I'm in Authentisign, I'm making a change on my contract, I can drop in my client's initials right away so I don't miss it. So I usually like doing it in there, but I'm going to show you in here how to do it. So we go up to your markup tools and you're going to select, first one is strikeout. That's actually going to put a line through anything you have in here. So if I am going to strike anything out, say maybe something on my contract here for possession, maybe I need to remove this, you left click, drag it to the right, and then let go when you're done. So you can see it creates a nice little line here for you. Once your line is created, if you right click on it, now you have options. So I left click to create it, right click to open up your option box here. I can make my size bigger of my line, so thicker. I can change the color. So maybe I want it red, just so it stands out. If you want to remove it, there's a delete. And then just to close this little box out, you just hit cancel. Once this is created, also you can move it. So if it's not exactly where you want it, I can move it up and down. I can move it to the right. I can make it bigger and smaller. So you do have options to adjust it as well. Okay, so that is up here at the top right under your markup tools. That's my strikeout. My next one is a line tool, which is basically does the same thing. It's going to create a line for you. So you can draw a line anywhere you need to in here. Now, the strikeout does a nice straight line. This one kind of sometimes will go, you can see mine's a little diagonal here. So you might have to straighten it out, but you can click on it just like the other one. And then I can make a change. So I can move this down a little bit, try to straighten it out. Through here, you can make it bigger or smaller. So the strikeout I find is a little bit nicer because it does a nice straight line for me. If you right click again, you have an option to make it thicker. You can change the color, whatever you want to do, okay? And then you can delete it or you can cancel it. You go back up to your markup tools again. Under line, you have a highlight tool. Maybe there's something in here I need to highlight so I can make sure my buyer sees it and the seller sees it as well. So maybe, for example, I have a home warranty in here. I want to make sure the home warranty is included. Let's see if we can find my home warranty option. And once you find that, you can, this is our GMR, so it's not going to be right here in the front. So I'm just going to find something here to select. Here we go. Let's do the Condo Homeowners Association assessments. So to highlight this, you're going to left click. Once you select under your markup, you're going to go highlight. You're going to left click and drag it. And it's going to make a box for you. So you can create, you know, whatever size you need. You do have an option to resize it as you're looking at this. You can move it around just like the other one. And if you right click on it, you have an option to change the color and opacity. So maybe I want it in red and I want it darker so they don't miss it. So I can go darker. Just be careful you don't go too dark and you can't see your type underneath it. So again, you can change this as needed. So that's your highlight tool. You go to the top of your screen again to Markup Tools, and under Highlight, you have a Redact. So this will actually put a line through a whole paragraph. It puts these stars and actually marks up the whole paragraph for you. So if I need to remove something from here, say utilities, maybe it's vacant land, I don't need an order of a final water bill for some reason. You can left click here, go all the way across, and you can see it creates these stars all through here and kind of marks up your whole paragraph for you. So again, you have the choice of using the Redact or you can use a line. Now, the only thing with the Redact I find is a little tough is that you can't really read underneath it. So you can't really see what was changed on it. So sometimes I find that might be a little bit harder to use. So I like using my line tool, but you can hit your right click, delete it or cancel. This doesn't have an option to change, you know, opacity on it or the color or anything else. So this is your Redact tool. Okay, back to your Markup Tools up top. Under Redact, you have Annotate. This is a great tool. Now, when I'm in my forms, unless you have an area that does not allow you to type in it, that you need to add something in there, that's really the main item of this. It's a text box. I can type in something into my contract. Now, this I use all the time in Authentisign, because when I'm in Authentisign, I'm dealing with the PDF at that point, so it's locked form. I have to use a text box in order to be able to type in it. So if I'm making changes or counter offer, whatever it might be, the Annotate tool is excellent. Use your text box, it's great. So again, for forms, I typically don't need it, but once in a while you might open a form that they haven't created an open area for you to type into. That happens sometimes. So if you need to add something in here at the end of a line, maybe you can type it in right here. So you can just type in whatever you need to. Once you've typed this in, it actually gives you an option to enlarge it, to right click on it. You can make it, and this is huge, you can make it white. So I use this in Authentisign if I'm doing a counter offer and there's so much on there that I don't want to cross out another line. I can actually use a white background, and then you can change also obviously the font, the size, and then the color, and I usually make it bold just to make sure it stands out. And then you can drop this on top of an area you need to cover. So actually, I'm going to put the amount on here. So I'm doing the price. Say I'm going to go. I'm going to move this now. Let's see if I am going to be able to move it. Probably not, because I'm on the wrong page. So let me go back into my first page. I wanted to show you on a purchase agreement. There you go, on the first page. So if I go to my offer amount right here, and I do my, sorry, I just clicked on the wrong box. 1 second here. I'm going to go back here. It's just took me into Authentisign, which you don't want to do, so don't hit that box. I apologize. I'm trying to click too fast and that happens. So let me go back into my purchase agreement number right there. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my Markup Tools again, my Annotate, and where my price is. I'm going to just click. I'm going to do the price on here, $4.25. And then right click on it. We're going to make that white background. And we're going to hit bold. I usually like to hit bold just so it stands out. And just make sure you don't forget to add your client's initials. Whoops. Let me do this 1 second here. And bold. There it goes. Okay. So once you have this, you can now move it and you're going to cover whatever area. So you can see it's a little too small for this area. So I'm going to right click again. So it fills in the area a little bit better. So let's say 12 is a little bit big. So I'll go down to like an 11 point. And there it is. So oops. 1 second. It went to make sure my white background's on. Oops. So because I am on my forms and I can type in and it keeps going into it. So you need to go in an area that you can't type into. So again, you can see my 425 is now covering whatever's underneath. So all that is just changing a background. So if you right click, background to white instead of transparent. That's all you're doing. So again, text box is great. I will show you again in Authentisign where to do that. All right, and then the last thing is clear all. So if I want to remove everything I just did, you hit clear all and it removes all those lines I just put in, the redact, the highlight, it removes all those. But I'm just going to leave them in here so you can see them. So whatever you're doing in here, you're going to see it when you send it to your client. So just keep that in mind. All right, so that is your markup tools. To the right is your pen for Authentisign, which we're not going to go to yet. And the last thing is we're going to hit save and exit. So before I do, I'm going to just stop for a second here and just see if there are any questions, Debbie. Have I missed anything?
Nope, no questions.
Okay, perfect. All right, wonderful. I see that we have a lot more on our class today. Wonderful. I hope everyone's able to catch up where I'm at. So I apologize if you got behind, but what we're going to do is go back into our transaction. So if you aren't the same place we are, if you can go into Transaction Desk and open one up, you can walk through this as we are. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit save and exit top right corner. You also have under file, you have the save and exit down here as well. So save and exit, and we'll go out of our form editor. Okay, so everyone should be back to their dashboard. So again, if you're just catching up with us, if you can go in Transaction Desk and just open up one of your transactions, maybe one you've tested or one you don't need, we're going to go ahead and go into our transaction, which we're doing Cove right now. We're going to go back to our dashboard right here, which is the main page. And then we're going to actually go through and we're going to go through our documents really quick here. So as everyone's done in here, we're going to go into our documents. So if you can get back to this page, if you don't see your transaction dashboard or you're on something else, again, top right, you should have those 3 green lines. You can go ahead and click on where we need to go. So I'm going to take you in documents real quick and show you some options in here. And I'm going to show you a couple more things in forms before we move on. Okay, so under documents, like we talked about before, these are your PDFs. Your disclosures will come in here. Anything you upload comes in here as well. When you're out of the wizard, you have multiple options in each one of these documents now. So if you look to the right, you have these 3 dots. These are your menus. So individually, I can click on any of these. So for example, I'm going to go down here at the bottom because I want to remove some of the stuff I don't need. So my form I added here at the bottom, you click those 3 dots now, and you scroll down, you have an option to preview it. So if I hit preview, it's going to give me a quick pop-up of it. Okay. You go back to your 3 dots, you have an option to print it. You can download it, you can delete it, you can rename it. Renaming I use quite often, and the reason I do is because if I do maybe a counteroffer, and I've got a second PA in here now, so now I'm going to name it counteroffer, revised PA, or final PA. If I do addendums, a lot of times I have multiple and they're all named the same thing. So I will come in here and say price addendum, inspection addendum. So all you're doing is clicking on this and you're typing in what the new name is. It's on here. And rename it. And that's all you're doing. So it just drops it in here. Go back to your 3 dots again. You have an option to send this. So if I want to email this, I can from here. If I need to send it, say, a copy of everything in here that was signed, again, when you go through Authentisign and they actually finish their signing, every one of your contracts will come in here that was signed. So you can go ahead and select those and send them wherever you need to at that point, like to your office, so they can mark it pending. Or you can send it to title company or to the mortgage company, wherever you need to. But I can select multiple and actually go in my basket and send them at the same time. Or if I select just one and I send just one contract for some reason, I can just hit send from here and send an email. Copy or move this. So maybe I have uploaded my client's pre-approval letter and now they've got a new offer on another property and I don't want to have to upload it again, or I don't have it with me that I can upload it. I can come in here and you can copy this or move it. So if I want to move it, you can move it to another folder or transaction. If you move it to another transaction, that means it's going to be another property address. So if I hit move to transaction, now it's going to give you all your transactions in a second. And then you go in here and find whichever one it is. The downfall with this is it is in order numerical, so it goes by the address number of the house or the property instead of by the street name. I wish it was a street name because I know those much better than I do the actual, the numeric address part of it, but you will need that to be able to find it. So, or you scroll through it. Okay, so that is how you will go in and actually move it. And again, it gives you options to move to another folder, which is within the same transaction. You can add as a checklist item. So there's a couple of things in here for you. So I'm going to hit close there. So again, if you hit those 3 dots again, you have an option to slice and markup. Now we went through those markup tools and I'm going to show you real quick again where they're at. And you can slice in here. Now I'm in documents again. So these are my PDFs. And so I'm going to come in here and hit slice and markup. And markup tools are here in the top right. So if you select markup, it takes you back to your actual form itself, which this is our data sharing map. And then you can add text. You can draw on there. It's a freehand, which again, unless you can draw straight lines, this is horrible for me. I look like a kindergartner writing. You've got these highlighting tools, which is a circle. You've got the rectangle, the regular one. Then you've got your line tool and your redact. Now, the only thing in here that's different is you've got this ellipse, which is like a circle, and it actually highlights for you, but it's circular. So you can see it does like this round or oval shape. If you right click, you can change the color. I can make it darker again, same thing. And then I can delete it. You also have the freehand tool, which we didn't have before. And let me show you this one again. Unless you are really good at drawing straight lines, which I am not, it doesn't look pretty. So if you need to draw lines in something, using either your line tool or your strike through lines, because those will be straight for you. Okay, right click again, we can delete this, and it gives you the option to change the size and color as well. So these are your markup in your documents. So under documents, you can select that and it takes you in here. To the left of this, you have an option to slice them. And I'm going to use another form because this really isn't going to do me any good. It's only one page, but I'm going to close this out. I'm going to hit yes, and I want to go to a multiple page document. So right here, I've got seller's disclosure, lead-based paint. So I'm going to open this one up, and I'm going to take you into slice and markup. So click on the right on the three lines, brings you your options, hit slice and markup. I'm going to select slice. And the idea of slicing is removing pages you don't need. So I use this sometimes if I have, say, we have a counter offer. We're just changing maybe the financing on it. And I don't want to send them every page again. I want to send them page one so we can make the change, have them initial it, and that way it's not confusing. So I can get rid of the other pages. So what you do is you come in here and say, for example, I just need the lead-based paint. They already received the others signed. I just want the one. So I'm going to select by clicking, left click on the ones you don't want. So I just selected my seller's disclosures. And the top right, there's a trash can. So you're going to hit that trash can. We're going to remove it. It's going to say, are you sure? And say, yes, it's okay. It's not going to, you're not going to lose everything yet. So we're going to hit yes. Now I've got my lead-based paint. So now I want to save as. You don't want to save, because if you save, now you've lost your seller's disclosure. You have to go back and upload it again. But what I'm going to do is hit save in the top right corner of my screen and select save as in the middle. Not save, but save as, and name it. So now I'm going to put on here lead-based paint. So I know this is just the lead-based paint addendum. Okay, I'm going to hit save, and I'm all set. So now when we exit, you're going to hit close in the top left of your screen, and it's going to say, do you want to save changes? Say no, because I don't want to save and remove those permanently, the seller's disclosure. I just wanted to create another folder with just my lead-based paint. So now I hit no, and you can see now I still have my seller's disclosure and lead-based paint, but if you go down further, you have lead-based paint addendum by itself. So this slicing tool is wonderful. I use it for whatever I need to. Again, I use it all the time. So a lot of times you'll get contracts back and you have everything that's been signed that you don't need. You just need the one contract. So now slice it up, save as, and you'll be all set. So you'll have that separate. Okay, so that is your slice and markup tool. And then if you go down a little bit further here on the right side with those three dots again, you can send this to Authentisign. You can upload a revision. It gives you options to see your revisions, notes. Again, some of these items I don't really use, but you might have use for them. History, and then you can also send it to certify and digitally sign it from here. When you're doing your signing, I usually go into Authentisign, click signings, and then I add it, and then I pick everything from there. If you have just one item that you need to send, this is a quick way to do it. Just from your documents, you go hit those three lines and send it, right into Authentisign. Or you can go into Forms and do the same thing as well. Okay, so those are all your little options, your shortcuts here. If you want to do something to multiple forms or multiple documents in this case, you select all of them like we have here, and then you go to your basket. So whenever you want to use multiple items on here, you have to and then go to your basket in order for that to happen. So if you click on your basket, you can see I have my seller's disclosure, my data sharing, and my other form. If something in here you don't want, select that remove item. It takes it out for you. Now you've got new options in here. So to the top left, you have this request review. I don't know if any offices are using this yet, but this actually allows you to send it to office staff, admins, management, for them to review an item before you move forward with it. So I'm not sure if your office has that set up. You'd have to check with them. Honestly, we haven't, so I haven't used it. To the right of that, move. So I have a buyer who's written 12 offers, which has actually happened. Each time we run an offer, I don't have to keep, uploading things, and I want to use things, whatever I could again, like my agency disclosure. I can move these now into another folder. So if you select move, it'll ask you where you want to move them. And I can go to transaction folders and select whatever property address. So whatever the new one is, this is not letting me go. I can go to my transaction folders, and under there, it's taking a second to load. And then I can go, it's just not letting me go back. It should let you go back and you should be able to select, there they are. It's taking a second to load here. Go back to whatever folder you need. So whatever the new property address is, and you can move them right in there. To the right of move, you have an option to merge. Now, if you're sending an offer to an agent and you don't want to send them 10 attachments, or to your office, for example, and you want to send in your pending documents or a new listing, this will actually merge them into one folder, so you'll have one attachment, so you won't have multiple. So I have used this as well. So if you select merge, it's going to ask you to name it, so you can put on here, new listing or offer, whatever it might be, and merge those docs. And what it does is it will create another document on this page with the merged ones, but you will still have those individual. It's not going to remove those individual documents for you. Merge, you have copy, so if you need to make another copy of something on here. Now again, we're in our PDF, so if you're making a copy in here, you're copying a document that's already locked, it's already been filled out, you're done with it. So if you're copying, usually I copy in my forms, like my addendums, where I can actually fill those out again, where in documents I can't fill them out again without using a text box, for example. You can copy to cloud. You can download a zip. Now, be careful if you're downloading. So for example, if I want to send these to my client, I send them as a zip file because there's a lot of them. If they don't have a program to unzip them and open them, then they're not going to be able to use it. So the zip, all it does is it's going to reduce the size of your file, and that's all it's really doing. So typically with PDF forms, they're not that big. Now, if you're sending a bunch of photos, then you have an issue, but when you're dealing with PDFs, they're typically not too large and they're easy to send. But if you do have a problem and you need to do that, you can download a zip file. To the right of that is your Authentisign. If I want to send these now, I've selected everything I want and I want to go to Authentisign, I can select them from here and go in here. I can print these. I can send them to a fax machine. I can email them, and I can also throw them in the trash. So these are your options, again, from your basket. So in order to see those options, you have to make a selection of multiple documents, click on your basket, and that's where those options are for you. The ones that we looked at before were individual options, and those were with your documents. So you clicked on those 3 lines, your menu opens up, and then you have those options in here. Okay, so that's everything in documents. In forms, it's the same thing. If you go back into your forms, you're also going to see the same options with those 3 dots. I think everything is, there's a couple of things that are different. So the only ones that are pretty much different in here, you have a mandatory lock, which locks it so no one can make any changes to it. You can edit your form in here, which you can in documents. It just takes you back into that form editor. But the other things are all in here as well. So you can download it, you can delete it, you can rename it, you can send it, copy it, slice and markup, send off and assign, you can see your history. So you got all those options in here as well. Okay, so we have gone through everything from going into Paragon, clicking on our little shortcut here for our transaction, brought us into here. We walked through our wizard, which is in the top right of your screen, went through our 5 steps. We added everything we needed from our contacts, our forms. We filled in our forms. And now the last thing, our forms. So we'll be going into Authentisign, will be the last thing we'll be doing in here. So we can go into Authentisign at this point. If there's any questions, then I'm going to take you back into Transaction Desk, and I'm going to show you how to do a listing and to start right into Transaction Desk as well. But since we're at this point, it might be easier just to go from here, and we can go ahead and start our signing. So we are going to go to signings on the right. So wherever you're at, if I'm going to go back here to the top, wherever you're at in your transaction, just go back to the top where those 3 green lines are. And if somehow you ended up out of your transaction, you can go back in by selecting it from your transactions. Just select the property address. We're going to go into signings at this point. So if you go down to signings on the right side of your screen, we're going to add a signing. And if there's any questions before we start our signing, go ahead and just type them in the question box. And I will make sure to answer. If there's something I need to show you again or I missed something, please let me know. Okay, so we are now in this Authentisign. So the nice thing with the way our system works now, Transaction Desk and Authentisign are in the same place. It used to be 2 separate sites, so it's kind of nice that you can find them right here in your shortcuts on the right. So you can see here I have a signing because I accidentally clicked that pen when we were in the form editor. So it started one for me, but I'm going to start a new one. Signing, just like anything else, you're going to hit that add button. So to add something, to add a form, to add a contact, you always look for that add button on the right side. And you're going to name it. So I am going to name it Offer Cove, so I know I'm sending my client. And I'm going to hit save right here. So the one thing with Authentisign, when you do this and you start doing multiple signings, the new thing that they do is they create these folders for you. So when you open up and you'll see your signings afterwards, you might see multiple folders. So if you name them, it'll be easier for you to know which one to go back to find that document. All right, so it's going to bring you to this page. So you should have selected signings. You should have added, select the name, and it should bring you to this. So here, you get to add a document or form. And then if you look at the right side of your screen, we have an option for our signers to add our documents, tools that we'll use to add our boxes in. You have an option for layouts that are set up with the boxes where they need to go automatically and they drop them in for you. And then we have a couple options here for feedback. We're going to walk through each one of these sections. So first thing is going to be our signers. So I like going from the top right here. So you have an option to set a signing order, and then you can add your participants. So let's start off with adding our participants. So select Add Participant, and it's going to ask you, do you want to add yourself? Do you want to add someone new? Do you want to add from the transaction or add from your contact? Now, transaction is going to be the folder we just did in Transaction Desk. That's where you want to go because we've already added our contacts. So we've added our buyers. We have the agent in there, the listing side. We have ourselves in there. So I'm going to add from transaction. And it's going to ask you, who do you want to include in the signing? So a couple things. Let's first start off with our buyers. That's the most important. We need our buyers in there. So I'm going to add Mr. Buyer, who is my LLC. I'm going to add Mrs. Buyer. And you're going to look here on the right side as you click on them and check mark their boxes. It says what type. There's a drop-down menu. So always look. If you see an arrow, you have other options. So if you look here, I have an option to make him a signer. He can be a reviewer or CC only. So let me explain each one of these. Your signer obviously is going to sign. You're going to send these to them, their email. They're going to click on it. They're going to walk through the signing, complete it, and then it sends it back to you. The reviewer will also receive a link in their it's actually a link that they'll get in their email. They'll select it. It opens up the contracts. There's no signing involved at that point. They're just reviewing it. So if there's an attorney involved or a parent, they can go in and actually read through it, and then they can accept it. If they accept it, then it can move on to the next person if you have everybody added into the signing itself. So maybe it goes to their dad first. He reviews it, he accepts it, then it goes to Mr. Buyer to sign, then Mrs. Buyer to sign. Or maybe there's an attorney, goes to the attorney first, and so forth. If they reject it, then it will not go to anyone for signing. So if changes need to be made, then it stops it at that point. So your reviewer must accept or reject it for it to move forward. CC only is something you would use for a listing agent. So if I am sending an offer and I want to send automatically to the listing agent once it's done signing because we've got a deadline and we're running short on time, then select CC only. CC will allow everyone to complete the signing, and then it will send a copy to everyone with the final signed copy, including whoever's on the CC. If you send the listing agent to review it, that means the listing agent is going to have to accept it before they will get a copy. If they accidentally reject it, then no one's getting a copy of the final signing. So again, a CC if you're sending it to a listing agent. If you need someone to either accept or reject it, then include them as a reviewer. So for both my buyers, they're going to be signers. Myself as a selling agent, I'm going to be a signer as well. If I want to send this to Colleen, then I'm going to send it to her as a CC only, and I'm going to include her for this one just as an example. Okay, so I've got my 4 here. And if I want these in a specific order, so if I want them to go to Mr. Buyer first, and once he goes through it and completes the signing, then it goes to Mrs. Buyer. And once she completes it, it comes to me, and then it goes to everyone as a completed signing. I can do it that way. Or if I keep it the way it is right now, it sends it to both buyers and myself to sign all at the same time. And then once it's completed, it CC's out. Now, I sometimes like doing if I have time, I like to do my signing order. And the way to set this up is on the top left, where it says signers, set signing order, you're going to just toggle that on. So now I have to select what order everyone's going to be in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit select in the bottom right corner here. Now you can see there's a number set up by each one of my signers. So now I can adjust these by moving them to the left of the number. So I'm going to put Mr. Buyer first. I'm going to move that up. And then Mrs. Buyer's number 2. And then myself is number 3. And if you notice, there's little colors here. When we go into our signing itself, you'll see boxes that are color coded, and that'll tell you who these are for. And it keeps the same color for all of their signatures and initials. So I have these all in the order I need. So again, it'll go to Mr. Buyer. He has to sign and accept it and complete his signing first before it moves on. So this might be an issue if you are on a multiple offer deadline and you need to get this in as quickly as possible, then you might have a little problem with this if someone misses it. But if you've got time and you want to double check and you want to be the last one and make sure you didn't miss anything, then you would want to go ahead and do the signing order. That's the best way to do it. Okay, so I have all of them in there. So I can now add more if I need to. So at the very bottom, if I still need to add someone maybe that I don't have in my contacts, you can hit add participant. But I will go to contacts because I want to show you the contacts in here again. Here's my contacts, and sometimes I like adding my office if it's a new listing, their email. It should search it for you. And then I will include them as a CC. So if I have a new listing, I will CC them on it just so I don't forget to send it in. So that's an option for you too. But if you don't want to include them, you can remove them. So once they're up, you can click on any of these. So where it says Clinton Admin, if I want to remove them, now I can go down to remove from signing. You can also make a change to it if you need to. If you need to change the email address, whatever you need to do, you can do from here. So I'm going to remove them from the signing because I'm doing an offer and I don't want to send to them yet. Okay, so that is how you get your signers in. So now we're going to go down to our documents on the right side of your screen. And we're going to click on Docs. So now we need to add what are we signing. So I need all my contracts in here, my addendums. So where it says add a document or form, or you can add it right here in the center, either one. It's now going to go into 3 different options. My transaction itself, which is what we just did in Transaction Desk. I can upload. So maybe I want to include that pre-approval letter. Now I forgot to add it before. I can drop that in here. If I have something in my files that I need to pull from another document, I can. But I'm going to go through my transaction itself, and I'm going to select add on the right side of my screen to add whatever I want to include in the signing. So I added my purchase agreement. I'm going to add my, let's say we got FHABA addendum, we'll drop that in there. And I'm going to add my disclosure regarding agency, which I think was at the top too. There it is, okay. Excuse me, my disclosure regarding agency relationship. Now I want my lead-based payment and seller's disclosure. So I'll go down to the bottom here. I'm going to use both of them because I don't need just the one. And I think that should give me everything I want. So again, you just select that add, it drops them all in. Select close in the bottom right corner. And then it takes you back in here. Now, this should pop up. If you get this, this is a wonderful thing. It's not a bad thing. So what this is doing is telling you they have layouts set out for some of the contracts. If it does have a layout, who is signing what roles? So buyer 1 is going to be my LLC, which is Mr. Buyer. Buyer 2 is his wife. And then if they have anything else in here, sometimes they'll show, the agents, listing agent, selling agent, you can add those in. If you're doing a listing, this would be your sellers would go in here, but you're going to sign signature blocks. So that's telling the system that if it's a buyer signature going in that area that's already set up, then it's going to put it in for you automatically. Okay, so let's look. Did it put anything in? And it did. So you can see here on my GMAR, and I believe this was set up with the system, GMAR has initial boxes set up for me for my buyers. So basically going through every one of these pages, it looks like it has them in. Now, if it's somewhere you don't want those boxes to be, you have to remove them. So if you look here, I've got under seller's disclosure statement, so it has with and without. Well, we have the seller's disclosure statement in the system, so I'm going to go ahead and click on these boxes And as you left click, you have a trash can will pop up and you can remove it. Same thing with lead-based paint disclosure. Do they want it or not? If they don't, then we're going to remove them. Okay, so I have them waiving the lead-based paint. So I don't need the other initial boxes. I just want them initially by waiving it. Okay. So if you go through this again, you'll look and see inspection. Do they want inspection or no inspection? Well, they want inspection. So let's remove that does not. Okay. And if we go down further here, signatures. We have our signatures. Now, Mr. Buyer, for some reason, his policy didn't pop up in here. Should have popped in here, but it says his actual signature is right here, and then his name should be printed here. Now, if it's missing, you can still add it. So if you look at the right side of your screen here, when you click on these signature boxes, you have options, a few options here. So I clicked on his, and it is a required signature, and I want his name block. So if I click on name block, it actually drops the Homes Investment LLC. So I'm going to drop that in here. There's his buyer's name. As you click on this again, you have the option of putting the date and timestamp. So if it didn't pull an auto date and you need one, that's where you can put it in. It doesn't look like my dates need to go in on this page. So I'm going to not worry about that. And then you have additional tools here. So let's look at our other signing tools. So I'm going to change at the top. If you notice, he's blue, Mrs. Buyer's green, and then mine are yellow. So if you notice, when I've got them selected, everything turns the same color. So it's easy to spot that you have the right person up. So the first thing is, who is signing? You got to go to that drop-down menu, and we're going to add people in that's missing. So I'm going to go down actually to one more page. So I'm going to add my signatures on here because I'm not on here as a witness. So I'm going to keep myself. I'm going to click on that left click, drag it over, and I'm going to put my sign here with my name, and then it automatically gave me an auto date. I'm going to move it right next to it. Okay. So all you're doing is you're left clicking and dragging it. So for example, if I need initials, I can, let's see if initials are on here. If I need initials for some reason on something, you just left click, drag it, drop it in. If once you have them on here, you can resize them. You left click. I can make these larger. I can make it smaller. I can move it. And you can get rid of it by hitting the trash. So like for my initial one, I'm hit the trash. Okay. So that's how you move your boxes in wherever they need to. So all my other boxes were in, which is great. If you don't have any on yours, you'll want to add in at least a signature for each one of your signers. If you don't, or initials, something, it won't let you move on to the next step, because if you selected them as a signer, the system knows they have to have a box to sign. If they don't have one, it will give you an error. So if you don't have something on one of the forms with a signature or initials, you'll want to come back in here and find each one of your clients that you have in here. Make sure that they have signatures, and if they're missing something, bring it over. Sign here or initial here, either one. So you can drop those on here. So you want to do it for Mr. Buyer and for Mrs. Buyer, and for yourself if you selected yourself as a signer as well. So if I go down, so for example, let's see, looks like most of mine filled in, which is really nice. So if you were lucky enough to find one that has them, these layouts set up for you, it's great. I'll show you how you can save a layout. So if you're adding things in today that are the way you want them and they're in the areas you want them, you can save that layout. Okay, and then let's go down here. I know my agency disclosure doesn't have them, so let me drop in. So I'm gonna drag over Mrs. Buyer, and I'm gonna drag her date over because it gave me an auto date with it. And then I'm gonna go back up, drop down to Mr. Buyer, drop in his signature as well, move his date over, and myself is the last one. So now my agency disclosure has all the required signatures on it that's needed. Okay, now Mrs. Buyer, it looks like her name is missing underneath, so I'm going to click on her box, and I'm going to toggle over the name block. Should have dropped it here, and then you can move it. That's what's nice. You can move, all these boxes have options to move them, resizing, so it's very easy to use. And again, you can always hit the trash button. Okay, so that gives us signing our signature blocks. It gives us initial blocks, something on here. As long as you have at least one for each, you're all set with that. So let me show you your other options on here. So if you go down, I'm going to keep myself on here because I'm going to a couple things just to show you. So if I go underneath my sign here, you have your text line. Now, this text line is a text line that I can fill in. So for example, I use this for my sellers when I'm doing their listing. So I will usually add them this text box in for on my contract where it needs like social security number. So they can fill in their social security number, or where it requires the name of their mortgage company and their loan, their loan number. So that way we can get that final the final payoff. So I'll put those boxes in on like in a listing agreement where they need to fill something in. So that's what this text line is. Whoever name appears here at the top is a person filling in that text line. So if I need Mr. Buyer to do it, then I'm going to put him in here. And then I'm going to drop in that text line for him somewhere. Where I'm going to drop it in, just drop it in the contract somewhere at the end. And I can drop that in here. And then when it gets to him, he will actually be able to type into it whatever needs, whatever information is missing. Checkboxes, same thing with checkbox. Whoever his name appears up here, they're the one that's going to be clicking on it. So let's see here. So for example, I forgot to select some of the things on FHA addendum. When you're in the signing part, everything's locked. They're PDFs now. So I can't go in and just click on things. So I need to add those boxes. So if I want to include maybe myself in here and select, those boxes, or my client, either way, I can now select the checkbox and drop it in. So for example, I want them to do, the seller to give us some kind of, concessions. So if I select and put it here by B, right, and then actually I'm going to change it to Mr. Buyer because he's going to be the first signer so you can see it. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to change it. When you add a box, if you need to change it to someone else's name, just highlight it and it gives you an option to switch it. So now I've got it to him. So since he's my first signer, I want you to be able to see that. So he's going to check mark it, but then now I want him to type in the amount. So I'm going to go back to my text line, and all you have to do is just click on your page anywhere. Go to your text line, and I'm going to put this in for the amount. Now, if he's not going to know how to fill this out or it might confuse him, then I'm going to fill it out now, which I'll show you in a second. But I can put this in here, and then he's going to be able to type in that amount. And then it's going to be used for buyer's closing costs and so forth. So anything else you need him to type in, you can. Otherwise, you can type that in yourself. And by doing that, you go down where it says markup at the bottom. So the markup tools are things you're going to do right now too. So your text box is right here. Excuse me. So you're going to type in here. You're going to click on it. You're going to type in your box. And I'm going to say $5,000 toward their closing costs. All right. So when I click on this, again, now I have the option of, I like making them bold so you see them. And if you want to resize them so they fit, in the areas, you can. Now this box you can see is white. And I want one that's transparent, so it's not covering any of the wording. So I'm going to go transparent background. I'm going to move this box over. I'm going to put my dollar amount right in here for him. And it's transparent, so I drop that in. So now it says we're going to use $5,000 toward his concessions. So seller will be paying that. So when it gets to him, the only thing he'll have to do is check mark it. And then I'm going to remove this because he's not going to fill it in himself, and I've got it set up for him already. So we're good to go. So this is the text box I like using if I forget to add something when I'm doing my original signing. I also use that same text box if I'm doing a signing where I'm doing a counter offer and I have to write, put some lines in and change some things. Okay, so that is how you use your markup tool text box, but that's a text line and checkbox that you get up here at the top. Initial pages. If my first 5 pages of my contract did not have my client's initials, which they need them on every page at the bottom, you can do multiple pages with initials by doing this once. So what you do is you select initial pages, and you can select the size. So do I want a large box, do I want medium size, or do I want small? So let's go large so you can see them come in. Where do I want them aligned on my page? So if I was doing this for my seller, I know his initials are going on that right side of that page. I'm going to drop that to the right. It's going to ask where on the document, the top or the bottom, which they're on the bottom. And then who are my signers that those initials are going in for. So I need Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, even though that's a seller one, but just for this example to show you. Which documents am I adding those initials on? Just my purchase agreement. Do I want it all 6 pages? And I believe the 6th page on this one does require them. So yes, all 6. If you only need on a certain page, you hit page range, page 1-2, page 1 through 4, whatever it might be. I'll just do all for this example and place initials. Now, once it does, here they are. If you notice, it doesn't put them exactly in the spot, so you'll have to move them. But instead of dragging one by one and changing the name back and forth to get them on here, I can now just have them on every page and just adjust the location, which to me is much easier than dragging one by one. This becomes a little tedious when you have a lot to do. So if you go through this and create one, if you do the next one that you do, whether it's for a client or if you're just doing a test or just practicing, if you create one and put in those items where you need them, save them as a layout, make sure they're exactly the way you want them, sized the way you want them, then it will save for you for your next contract. So you're not going to have to come in here and now drag one by one in. So huge time saver. All righty, so that's your initial pages. Initial choice, if they have an option to select one or the other, that's when you use initial choices. So if you have something, I know lead-based paint, they have an option to waive it, but usually you want initials in there. But if there's something that they can actually click on, so we'll just drop it over here to show you, they select initial choices, it drops two for you. And actually, this is an initial one, there's a checkbox one too. So this you can use. If your client didn't tell you if they want lead-based paint inspection, you want to give them an option, then you would drop in their initials in each one of these. I'm going to remove the other ones so we can give them an option to choose. So this is Mr. Buyer. He's got the choice of either having a lead-based paint inspection or waiving it. So I'm going to now change up in my signing tools again. At the top, we'll go to Mrs. Buyer. We're going to give her an option to initial the choices. Drop in initials by each one of his.
Hey, Lisa.
So, yes.
We had a question. Do
Sure.
you check buyer or seller blocks under signature line?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you check buyer or seller blocks under signature line?
Buyer signature blocks. I'm trying to see where they're seeing that at. I'm just trying to think what their choice is. Signature block. So as far as, let me go to signature line. Maybe they've got that selected. If you have a signature selected, is that, okay, maybe that's what they were talking about. Is this, hopefully this is what you're looking at. So if you select a signature block, you have the option to make it required, add a name block, add a date, time, or make changes. If they are doing initials, it's wherever initials need to go. And when you select those give you the same options as well. I don't know, did I answer the question? Is that what they were looking for?
Well, let's see if Cindy responds.
So again, you're going to select, each one of them will have options for you, but you're going to look at what the line requires. So if it requires signing, then you want to add their signature block. If they need initials, then you do your initial blocks. Oh, maybe on the initial pages, maybe that's what she was asking me about. Let me see. Is it on here that gives you an option? No, because this is just initials. So I'm not sure. Well, let me know if she has another question or if hopefully I answered it. I'm not sure if that was it or not. Okay.
Will do.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that was our initial choices. You have these radio choice, which is just puts a dot on the selection. It doesn't give the actual initial boxes. And then a drop down. You have an option, and this is newer, and quite honestly, I've not used it yet to test it out, but I'm going to use it right now to test it out. So this will give you, it looks like an option to select. You can do different options of what they want to select in the drop-down menu. So if I want to add additional options for them to highlight to go in there, wording, I can do that. I can actually, it looks like you can type in multiple options, and then they'll have an option to select which one. It'll come in at one, and there might be different wording that they use. It's kind of a, I guess it's a different option. It's a good one. I guess if someone doesn't know what their client wants to type in a box and they have multiple options for them, you can type each one and it gives them the option to select which one. So we'll leave that in there. I kind of like to see how it looks. Okay, so that gives us everything in our signing action box. our signer fields, this is going to give you their full name. So if their name is missing, like here for Mr. Buyer, I can go back to Mr. Buyer at the top here, and I can take and put in his full name wherever it needs to go, wherever it's missing. Auto dates, if you need a date, auto dates will fill in whatever day they click on that box to sign. So when they click on their box to sign, the date appears. Okay. Auto time, if you need a time, same thing. If you need their email address somewhere, you can use it from here. And then the last thing is your markup tools. So let's look at our markup tools real quick. So you've got that text box, which I showed you earlier. So if you get to this point and you forgot to add something, my client wants, there's all appliances, and they want to make sure that I put in there that they're leaving, they're riding lawnmowers. So I'm going to go text box, click in here, and I can put on here riding lawnmower, 0 value. Add that in. So when you do type in here, you can notice it's kind of small here. You can make your line bigger by clicking on it, dragging it, and then you can also change it. So it's pretty big. So I'm going to make it a little smaller so it kind of fills in the same way the rest did. I'm going to make it bold so it looks the same. And then you have an option to change it. So if I want to go Times New Roman, I can. Make it a little bit bigger so you can read it. And then I can drop this in. I can move it where we want it. And just drop it in. So again, you have the option of adding additional text in here wherever you need it. All right, under text box, we've got our line tool. So again, if we need to make a line somewhere, this is that wonderful line that you actually have to be able to, oh no, this will do the straight line for you. There's your straight line, nice and pretty and straight. Strike through line is the freehand one that we don't want. Strike through will do a nice straight line. Again, each one of these, once you're done, if you click on them, you have the option to change color and the thickness, and you can always delete them. Okay. And then you can add a highlight tool. So to highlight anything you need to on here. Again, this looks horrible. Luckily, I'm not sending this to anybody. I would not send this to anyone with all these markups, but I just want you to see the different markups when it gets to me. Freehand, again, this is the one that I was talking about earlier that, again, I can't draw a straight line if my life depended on it, so that doesn't work well for me. And then your ellipse line will give you that circular highlighting tool, which again, might be good, I guess, if you need something highlighted, but if I want it colored, it's actually, this one is actually just a line, not shaded. So if I want to point something out, I guess, I'm not quite sure what you would highlight on there, but you could. Okay, so those are your markup tools at the bottom. Now, again, if you're doing this and you're writing your contract, nothing's been signed yet, you can do these all day long. You can put initials by them just to make sure they see you made that change. But if you're doing that counteroffer, please make sure you don't miss those initials, because if you're changing something already pre-written, you want to do that. But highlighting things, I'm not sure if you really would need initials by that. You can check, but the main thing is anything you're putting a line through, we want to make sure you've got initials by those. Okay, so we've gone through all of our signing tools. Let's look at real quick our layouts before we send this. So underneath your tools on the right, you look at layouts. This again is where you can save your layouts, or you can add layouts. So if you want to apply layouts, you can see what layouts you've got. And what it does is it opens up the documents. It'll show you what the layout name is, and you can sign those signature layouts from here. If you don't have any when you open it up, then you'll go to layouts. Oops. And you're going to save. So layout options, create layouts, and then you can name what the layout is. Now, mine is a mess. I would not save this right now, because next time you come in here and hit apply layout, everything I just did, all those lines, those highlighting, I mean, all this stuff is going to pop up on my page. I don't want that. When you're saving a layout, you want to make sure it has your signatures, your initial blocks. Auto dates are great. You know, check boxes if you want to put those in for something. Their full name, but other than that, you really don't want to get into line tools and putting lines and highlighting things and so forth, unless you want to use a highlight tool each time. It's fine on something specific, but it's going to be different for each person. So really, you don't need everything there. You just want your basics. You want to make sure your initials and signatures are going in where they need to be. All right, so I'm going to close this out. I'm not going to save anything. All right, and then it does give you a few options down here, and that's just your signing details first. Gives the name of the signing. You can set an expiration date. So when you click signing details, you go down to one, it's expiration date. I can put a specific date and time this expires. Now, The thing with this is if I set this date, if my client doesn't sign by that time, and it's giving me a month out, which I don't want to go that far out, but maybe I have a multiple offer deadline. If my client doesn't sign it by then, our offer's not going in, so they can just forget about it. So I can put that expiration date here, and it will save that, and it will, at that point, if after that date they go in to sign, it will be locked. They won't be able to. Reminders. I love reminders. So if you click on your reminders, we want to set a reminder. It will only allow you to set it once a day. Now, we used to be able to send it like every 4 hours, like constantly, which I love, not just for my clients, but for myself, because you get busy and you forget. So it will send you an email reminder that you've been invited to sign. You've been invited to sign until you do. Now, this only lets you do it every day at 9 a.m. or every other day, whatever you want to do. So I still set mine up and same changes on that. And then your Authentisign ID position. So once they sign, it creates this key code. Each one of your signers will have their own key code, and that will stamp on every one of the documents that you send to them. When you do a signing again on the same contracts, it will also create another key code as well. Now, it used to cover one to the other, so you have to move them, because right now they're in the top left. If you don't want the top left of your pages, you can drop it like at the bottom, you can put bottom left. When you do multiple now, it makes them smaller and above the other. So again, you won't have them cover because those key codes links that signing back to your client. So you want to be able to see those numbers. So this just allows you to move it. Okay, save changes, and that's it. Any questions before we send this? Because I think we've got everything done we need to at this point. So we're just going to send this to our client next. So, okay, so if everyone's good, let's send our signing. So as long as you have at least one signature or initial box for each one of your signers, you should be able to go to the next step. So we're going to select next at the top right corner of your screen. Now, if you get to this point and there's stuff you need to do, or you need to go back and modify one of your forms, if you hit back, it gives you an option to save. Make sure you hit save if you're going to go out of your signing. It will save everything you did to this point. You can go back, add another form, type in whatever you need to, and then come back in here and add it in. So your boxes are always here on the right, so you can always go back in and do whatever you need to, whatever section, add another contact, add another, document, add tools so you can drop in your boxes, whatever you need to do. But they're right here on the right, you just click on them and do what you need to. So I'm about to hit next on the top right, and then I'm gonna go into my email. So here we go. So my dropped annotation. So I added that little drop box so I can see what it looks like. So let's go back to our document here, our tools. And let's see, I added that drop box, I think at the end of my purchase agreement. Here it is. So it looks like when you select this, you need to make sure that you have a default. So I'm gonna have to type in what their option is. So we'll put on here, I don't know, I'm just gonna put concessions. Honestly, I don't know what I would have to think about this, what I would use this for. Just put concessions, and we'll put that as you have to type in multiple, and then you have to make one of them the default, so when they open it, they see that one, and then they can select which one they want. So I'm just gonna leave it in here. So I just did it that way. Okay, so when you hit next now, and if you already hit next, yours probably already went through. So now you're gonna wanna go into your email once it's sent. You have an option to customize the invite. So at this point, I can type in a message. So usually I like to type into my clients. Cove. And then I'm going to, the only thing I don't like is that I can't type in a subject or a message to whoever I CC on this. It only allows you that people are signing or reviewing. So the CC will just give them the basic Authentisign message. So for these, I have offer and code. You can type in whatever message you want and save it. And then on this next page, you have an option again. Do you want to set an expiration and do you want a reminder? I'm going to hit send. And that's going to go into my email. And if you give me a second here, I'm going to open up my email. We're going to walk through the first one. Okay, so it doesn't come in yet. Give it a minute or so. You might have to refresh a few times. There it is. So there's my first one. You can see it comes in from my name. It will say whatever I named the signing. So for my message, it sent the subject line, offer on code. When they open it, they're going to see Authentisign signing invitation. It's going to say their name. It will say the agent's name, your name, and then your email address is inviting you to participate as a signing party in this e-sign document. name of the signing, and then they select start signing. It's pretty simple. If they don't see the start signing box, sometimes there's another link that says if you don't see it, click on it. If they're not seeing things on here, they might have a pop-up blocker or something blocking on their computer, but they should see the start signing button. When they click on it, it's actually going to take them into Authentisign. You're going to ask them to accept the terms of Authentisign, so I accept. And then it's going to give them the same view that we have. So you're going to basically see all the contract. It's going to be one document, just like we did. So everything's in here: the purchase agreement, agency disclosure, I have a JV addendum that I added. So all this will be in here. And at the top here, it's going to say progress 0%. There's 19 items. So I have 19 signature initial blocks, check marks, whatever it is for this client to have to click on. On the left, they can zoom in, zoom out. On the right, they can print it, they can download it. So if they want a copy, they can download it, but this will be the copy before everyone signs. Once, and I explained to them, once they're done signing, everybody's done signing, they will get an email to download a completed signed contract, which they might want to wait for that. If they want to read through this, I always tell them before you hit that start button in the top right corner, you might want to go through and just kind of review it, because once you hit start, the pages move. And they're going to move to the areas that they have to click on. So they're going to miss a lot if they're just going by that. So they have an option to reject it. So again, this is someone, if an attorney or parent's involved, something needs to be changed, they can hit reject and it stops sending the signing to anyone else that's on here. They have an option here to change their signature. They can view disclosure on it. They can view the agreement and view history. So minimal items that they're allowed to do. So I'm going to hit start. Tap right here, and you can see it moved it to the first initial box. So I'm going to click on it, and it's going to ask me what initials and what signature do I want to use. So they have an option to use one of, and I'm not sure why they're so big in here, but they are, I must have put, oh, it's my fault. So I have loaded under initials and just Mr. under. So what I'm going to do, because it's not giving me their full name, is I'm going to draw and actually create my own signature. So I'm going to use my pen. This asks how thick you want it. And I'm going to do my buyer. So all I'm doing is left clicking on my mouse. And then I am trying to sign. Not the nicest, a little sloppy, but they can use their mouse. Or if they want to do this again, they can actually clear this out. And you can use, if you have a touch screen, which I do, you can use here, which might be a better way to go. And then their initials. They just hit set signature. If they don't, they can go back to their styles and they can pick a font. So whichever way they want to go. So set signature. And you actually can upload. When you do yours, if you're doing it for the first time, make sure you do like a nice, your actual draw and do your actual signature. If you can do it from something, you can use your finger, probably easier. But it will save that and remember it for you for next time. And you can just use that every single time. That's what I do. Okay, so you can see it just dropped in my initials there. Now it's got another box here. Click on these and look like I missed this one. So this is where they can check mark. So it's with disclosure, accept it. This one, they have a choice. Do they want to do a lead-based paint inspection? Do they want to waive it? If you notice, as I click, if I go back, as I click, it only allows one to go in. So I'm going to have them waive it. Go to next here. And next. Look through this pretty quick here so I can get you through the next one. And if you notice the top of my page too, I have 11 boxes of 19 done. This one, click this one, this. Okay, this is where they can type in here. So whatever they're typing in, just type whatever. And it looks like I have 14 done. Now, if it gets stuck, if they're going through and they can't, it's not moving, tell them just to hit next in the top right corner. It moves it to the next box for them. And here. Got my check mark here for the 5,000 concessions. Signatures are going in, and I'm done. So once they get this, they're completed their signing, and it's going to ask them if they want to print or download this from here. They can, but again, after everyone is done signing, they'll get a copy as well. But if they want a copy now to go through it, they can. All right, so this one's done. So now that Mr. Buyer's done, then I'm going to see a couple emails come in. So my first one says, my first one that came in is an agent here. Oops. Go back. So it says signing updated. It says an action has taken place on my offer on Cove. The document was accepted, the date and time, the name of whoever signed, which was Mr. Buyer, and his key code. So this is the number that shows that he actually went in and clicked on everything and completed the signing himself. So for legal purposes, this shows that your client actually did the signing. Okay, I'm done with him. So now Mrs. Buyer, and again, these are all sent to the same email, so it's not a problem. She'll get hers. It starts signing, because I do have sometimes buyers, they use the same email address. I accept. Okay, so we're going to start hers. She has 18 boxes. I'm going to kind of whip through this really quick, just so I can get you to the end of it, so I can show you a few more things. So I'm going to hit start, and I'm just going to go through this really quick. So here's her name. Again, if she just wants a font to make it look pretty, I can pick any of these fonts for her. Do a nice script. Okay, I'm going to set her signature. And now I'm going to click on her boxes. Okay, I'm just about done. She has one more left. It's right. No, we're going to do this one because they don't want Levy's name. And where's the last one? Oh, so for hers, there it is. Oops, that's what I wanted right up here. I missed it. Okay, so she's going to accept with disclosure. She's done. Okay, hers is done. Now we'll go back to Authentisign, and we're going to go back here and just refresh it. There it is. Now I get the same thing, another email stating that Mrs. Buyer has signed. And then the last one is myself. And I'm going to go ahead and do my signing, which I don't think I have many. Yeah, I've got 2. So mine's pretty quick. So when mine starts, you'll see I already have mine done. So at the end, you'll see I already completed my signature. So I use the same one each time. So I don't have to select a font or signature. Mine's done. All done. That's it. So those were all 3 signings. They're complete. So now everyone that signed is going to get a copy of it. And if whoever you CC'd on it, which I think Colleen did, so I'll have to let her know I sent her an offer. That's not real. So she's going to get a copy of my signing as well. And then again, you will get all these emails. So you have proof that everyone's gone through. When it's done, this is your last one. The signing has been successfully reviewed and signed by all parties. To download a copy, you can click on this, and it's going to download it right now for me, which it is. And then I'm going to have one PDF here. There it is, with everything signed. There it is. So this is all done. So this signing is done. Now, if I didn't include the listing agent, I can now send this to her. I can create an email and send this over to her. But Colleen's included, so she's getting this. So hopefully she doesn't think it's real. All right, so now we've got the signing complete. Let's go back and do transaction desk real quick, and I can show you where everything went in. So if I go back to my transaction, you should have your tab open somewhere if you clicked on things, or I think Google might have put it at the bottom of your screen, but look for your transaction desk. And we're going to go into documents under that transaction, because now if you look under my offer, if I click on that, everything has a key next to it that they signed. So these are the completed ones. So you know these are the ones that you're going to want to use, and now I can select these and I can email them, download them. You know, you have options here to save them whichever way you want, or go from your basket and just send an email with everything to wherever it needs to go. Okay. So those are going to be underneath your folder. So you can see under documents, I have a folder that says offer, but then I have my original documents in here still too. So the ones that are not signed are still here. So you just want to look for the ones with the key, and then you know they're completed. All right, so that's where you can find them. If you go into your signing itself, here's my signing that I completed. So when you open it up, you can also see in here, you can see the signed PDF. You can see your certificates to show they did it. You can copy it to your cloud. It gives you options to duplicate or delete this. Go down further. Here's each one of the participants. Here's the forms I use. Here's the history. So it gives you a lot of information here. And with the history here, it shows when it was sent, the date and time, and what was sent and what was done. So keeps track of everything for you, which is really nice. So you have multiple places to find these. So you can go under the Authentisign and go into your offer itself. You can go under your documents in Authentisign. And then you can find them, or I'm sorry, in your transaction desk, your documents, and go under your offer. They're there. And in your email, you'll get that email, and then you can go ahead and just download a copy instead. So any one of these ways will get you your final signed copy. Okay, so that's everything with our signing. Is there any questions before I show you? I just want to show you real quick a listing and a couple things in Transaction Desk, and then we will be done. So if there's any questions at this point, if anything I went through with Transaction Desk or Authentisign, let me know. If everyone is good, we will move on to the next step. So the next step is going into Transaction Desk directly and starting a listing. Is there anything?
Yep, we got one question.
Sure.
So Cindy just asked, is there a way to send sellers disclosures in Authentisign that the sellers can fill out? Sure can. I think, do I have that uploaded?
Well, yep, it's uploaded, and actually I'm about to show you that. We're about to do a listing, and you couldn't have asked a better question because that's one of the things I'm going to show you. So yes, I will show you how you can send an open form to them and they can actually fill it out online. It's wonderful. So we're going to go through that right now. All right. Everything else good, Debbie, before I move on?
Yep, we're good.
Perfect. All right. So now let's go back into Transaction Desk, but I'm going to take you through from Paragon. So if you have your folders or your files open, your sites open, I'm going to close and go back to Paragon to show you how to go in from Paragon itself without, going through the listing. We're going to go directly from a shortcut in here. So from Paragon to get to Transaction Desk, it's under your resources at the top. And on the right side, online forms, Transaction Desk, that's where we want to go. So you're going to go to resources, Transaction Desk. And if you're already there and you want to stay there, you're fine too. I just wanted to show you another way to get to it. Okay, so when you open up Transaction Desk, this is your main dashboard with everything in it. So it's not just the one transaction, everything. So if you notice, I have a folder right here for transactions. And then I also have specific forms. So this keeps track is every time I click a form in any transaction, it shows that form that I just modified and it tells you the property address. All my signings are right here. And my documents, same thing from every transaction. As I do stuff to them, it loads them in that order here. On the left here, you have options for transactions, start assigning, contacts, and upload. On the left side of your screen, so when we were in the transaction, on the right side, top right, you have 3 green lines. On the top left, you have 3 green lines as well. Now, everything on the left is for the whole system. It's everything in Transaction Desk. On the right is specific to that property. So if you click on the left here, your first one is your dashboard, which is where we're at right now. The next one is transactions. If you click on transactions, this is going to give you every property address that you've done, that you've clicked on Transaction Desk, whether you went from Paragon, from the listing, or you came in here, started an actual transaction, it creates a folder for each. So they're all in here. So to do anything with these, you come in, open them up, and you can go into that transaction with all your folders. If you want to do any specific folder, you want to get to it quickly, you can click from here. If you want to remove any of these, and I just want to show you because people usually after doing so many classes, they want to get rid of them. If you click on them, the basket will give you an option to trash them. There's a garbage can in there, or you can also flag them if it's important. So, okay, so that is your transactions. Back to the top left of your screen, the 3 green lines. You're going to go under transactions to signings. Every one of your signings is in here. So if you need to find a specific signing, you can. They're all in here. If you have a signing that you haven't completed, you'll see it. Like this one's a draft. I haven't done anything with it yet. If you have one that they didn't sign yet, you'll be able to see that. And I don't know if I've got one in here that hasn't, these are all signed. But usually when you go back in it, you can go back in and resend to your signers if they haven't signed yet. Sometimes that happens. So this one, because I haven't done anything yet, set anything up, I don't have that option. But you will have that option to go back in and let's see, I'm gonna get you back into, let's go back. Don't save. You'll have an option to resend that signing to whoever's missing. Or sometimes you might have email address was incorrect. If you're in the middle of it, you can go in and change, the email address for that person and so forth. Okay. So it does give you a few options. And then here too, you can see the signed option, duplicate signing details, delete, and so forth. If you have one in the middle of the signing, like you've already sent it out but it hasn't been completed, that's when you get those other options, which I don't have one right now to show you. Okay. So let's go back to the left of our screen, top left, 3 green lines again. Under signings, you have forms. This is all the options of forms that you have. So this is all your forms library, every folder that you have, your office, MAR, association. So if you're looking for one and you're trying to find what they've got in there, this is a great way to find it. top left green, 3 green lines again, under forms is documents. Again, this is anything that is completed or uploaded. So when you upload anything, your disclosures that are uploaded, that are completed, they'll come in here. You go to transaction folder, it gives you all your transactions again, and then you can go in there and find your documents. So these are completed. Top left again. If you have a broker, if you are an admin or you're a broker or manager, you have higher security, you have options to do the broker tools. Under there's tasks. If you set up tasks for your transactions, you'll find those in here. If you go back to the top, under your tasks is contacts. This is your address book. Every time you start one of these and you save your contacts in transaction desk, they're in here, so you can find whoever you need. So I have quite a few. So that's where your contacts are in. You can always come back in here and you can edit them, you can email to them, you can delete them. Top left of your screen again. Again, partners, this is something else that they've got that you can, there's additional options in here, and I believe these all have charges. I'm not quite sure exactly how these work, but there are other options in here that you can look into if you're interested. Under partners is your settings. When you have time later, come through your settings and you'll want to walk through some of these. And at the end, I'm going to just show you real quick where the clause and templates are. But you have options under your preferences. Make sure your information is correct. If you want to make changes to any, the office information, make sure that's correct. Your signature, you can create a signature line when you send an email, it sends that with that. So there's all kinds of options. Those are going to be on the top left to go down to the bottom where it says settings, those 3 gears, and you can walk through those. If you want to use Transaction Desk on a mobile, this is where you have to come in and you're actually going to have to go through and get your activation code. So you come in here, you will go to your, if you've got, I don't know if you've got Android or Apple phone, but you go to your Apple store, you go to your, on your Android, okay, the Play Store, I believe, find your Transaction Desk. And once you do, and you go through it, it's going to ask you for this activation code. Every time you click this, it's only good for 15 minutes. So create it, log in like you normally would, and then you should be able to get in. Okay, and then back to settings again. So those are going to be the most important. I'll take you through the other two. Hopefully we have a few minutes right after. Okay, so let's go back to, and then you've got this question, which obviously is help. So there's other support, and obviously we have those attachments, download them, that Debbie has put on there for you on the right side of your screen. And also in Paragon, you have the MLS documents in there as well. All right, so let's go back. I just want to go back to the first page, which is my dashboard. So if you go to the top left, and you're going to click on dashboard, and we're going to create a transaction, and you're going to name it. So typically the property address. So I'm actually going to just use the 1871 Cove again, just as my example. So you can put in whatever the address is. So I'm going to put 1871 Cove. If you have multiple folders on it, you might want to put what it is. If you relist it, I relisted something years later. I had to make sure I put new listing or the date so I know which one's the new one. Template. Again, just like before, we're going to select our template. If you have a listing package, select that. If you don't worry about it. I'm going to show you the two things I'm going to show you in here, and we're going to add this in real quick. Import data. So now we're starting fresh from Transaction Desk. We're not going from a listing in Paragon. So we are going to search tax records. We're going to go down to Realist. So you're going to go to Import Data, Realist. It's going to ask you which county. And let's see, what county is this in? Because I don't think it's Macomb, it's St. Clair. So you're going to select the county, go down to St. Clair. And we're going to put in, which we don't know the tax ID number, we're going to put in the address. So to the right of tax ID, you have a magnifier. Select your magnifier. And you're going to put in just the street number, street name. Don't include road or township or any of those items. You want to make this as simple as possible, because the more you put in, if it doesn't match exactly what tax records has, it won't find it. So just do street number, street name only, nothing else. So I'm just going to do 1871 Cove. And at the bottom, it says search tax data. I'm going to search, and there it is. So now I'm going to check mark it, hit select, and now it's going to pull whatever information and tax records for me into my transaction. And now I am the listing agent, and I'm going to use the wizard. I'm going to select create top right corner. Okay, so we're going to go through this part pretty quick. We're going through the same steps again, so I'm really not going to go too much into it because I know I'm running out of time. I want to show you two different things in here. The first thing I'm going to show you is your seller's disclosure. So when I'm filling in all these forms, I had actually a client who was in Arizona. He had no printer, no scanner, no way of filling it out, and I was not about to fill it out for him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through this really quick. We're going to make sure those documents are in here, and then I'll show you how you can send that to him. The other thing is your data sheet in MiRealSource. I'm going to show you how to fill it out in here, and then you're going to push it into Paragon so it's already filled in for you, and you only have to do a few items. So details, I'm just going to leave everything the way it is right now. I'm going to hit next. My dates, I will put my listing date because you will be required for the data sheet. So we'll put on here the 12th, expiration date, doesn't even matter. And then we're going to select next. So again, same 5 steps in the wizard as we did earlier, but now you're adding everything for a listing. The nice thing about this is it does pull the seller's name from tax records. If you're missing someone, if there's they did a quick claim, it's not picking up, add button on the top right, you can create a new contact. Now we're going to add a seller. We're going to hit next. And this is what I need from you to have in here. So 2 things. I want you to have your data sheet in here and seller's disclosure. So we're going to go into add if you don't. If you have them, you're good. You don't have to do anything further, but I'm going to go in. I'm going to go into MiRealSource first to show you. You want to go to MiRealSource and you want the data sheet for residential. So once you find that, you're going to check mark that. Box over here so I can see it. Okay, so I'm going to add in my data sheet for residential, and then I'm going to go back up, hit back to individual forms, and now I want my seller's disclosure statement. So I'm just going to go to Michigan Realtors. You can go to your own office if they have one, but I'm just going to go in here real quick to pull it for you. So you can see seller's disclosure statement. I don't want vacant land. I want my seller's disclosure. I guess I don't have one in here. So I thought there was one in here for residential. So I'm going to go back to I know my office has one. I just thought there might be one in here. So if you don't find one in your office, we might have to go into like Gmart. Go into mine because I know I have it here. A faster way of doing this, which I should be doing this to begin with to make it easier for all of you, at the top here where it says search, just see what we find. Okay, and then you can select it, and it tells you where it's coming from. So I want my seller's disclosure. This is odd because I'm not. There it is. Okay, make sure you have parentheses. You have the account with the parentheses. Seller's disclosure statement. Yeah. Okay. So I've got my office one right here. Let me see where else in case you couldn't find it in your office. Well, it looks like some of the boards have it. I'm surprised we don't have GMRs, or they don't have one. So I'm wondering if they haven't updated theirs yet. So just at least find one if you don't see one in your office. So as long as it says seller's disclosure statement, we want to select add. Look into this if I thought we were the correct one. Okay, and add that in. So 2 things, data sheet and seller's disclosure. Those are the only 2 things I'm concerned about right now. You're going to hit next in the top right. And documents, we don't need any. You're doing a listing, so you're not going to really upload your disclosure statement like base because you're going to fill that out first. So we're done. So let's start off with our seller's disclosure. So you're going to go to your forms. So open up your forms. You can go from here or on the right side. If you open up those 3 green lines, you're going to select forms. And for your seller's disclosure statement, we want to open that up. And we're going to send this, if you want to make sure the date's in here. And then we're going to send this to our client. I'm going to make sure I've got his name. Yep, the name's in here as well. Okay, so I am going to, you can send it directly from here, but I usually find I'm going to exit again. Just want to make sure it was pre-filled. I'm going to send it directly from here in my forms. So if you go back to your forms folder, on the right side, your 3 dots, and you can send it directly from here. And we're sending an email. So if you're still in Form Editor, you can do it as well. We're going to send an email. We're going to put his name. You can send this to yourself to see how it works. I'm going to send this to myself. And it's going to give a subject. I'm going to leave it the way it is right now just for time. You can put a message, but here's the key. You're sending as a link, not as an attachment. Now, be careful when you send this because whatever you've selected will be an open form. So all you're basically doing is giving your client permission to go into it's going to log them into your Authentisign, take you directly to the form editor, and they're going to be able to fill it in and save it. They can't do much, and I'll show you in a second, but you're giving them permission to go in and make the changes. So if you include more than like the seller's disclosure, whatever you include, they're going to be able to type into it. So I usually just include the one that I need. I'm going to allow them under send this link, allow editing of forms. It must say allow editing of forms or it'll be locked. And I usually like setting an expiration date, because if I don't, and 2 weeks from now they decide to go in, they can still make changes to it. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that they cannot, after this is completed. Hit send. Okay, I'm going to go and open mine up real quick and just walk through it to show you just a couple things. So now I'm the client. Maybe this is a second to load. Trying to refresh this here real quick. I'm sorry, I know we're at 12 o'clock right now, so I'm just trying to. There it is. Okay, so I'll get you through this here real quick. So this is what they'll see. Transaction desk. It was sent to you by your agent's information, so it'd be your information. The property address. This is what they've been granted permission to edit these forms. If they don't see this, then you didn't select the option to edit the forms. Seller's disclosure statement. They can go ahead and click on it. It opens it up. And I would do this at least once, or at least if you watch mine, that way you can explain to them what they need to do. So again, this is their options. They can save it, they can print it, they can change their fonts, they can scroll from page to page and zoom in. It does allow them to actually strike out and highlight and so forth. So under here, I'm just going to select a few things real quick just so I can show you when I go back in what I get to see as the agent. Okay, and then they go down further, and now they're going to put in here place, whatever the reasoning is for. I'll say yes, they have water. Okay, and that's all they're going to do. So again, this will tell, be able to fill everything in. Now, when they're done, all they have to do, it's very simple. Tell them just to hit save, save again. They want to keep a copy of the PDF, they can. They'll drop it onto theirs, or they can print a copy, whatever they want. But once they're done, they just exit, save and exit. That's all they have to do. Now, close this out. As the agent, I am going to get a notification that they opened it up. So it's going to tell me they opened it. And then I'm going to go back into transaction desk, and I'm going to see what they just did. So if I go back to my form right here and I open it up to hopefully show the changes they made, and it does. So these are check marked my yeses. Sub pump backed up, replaced. And I selected just copper plumbing here. So just real quickly so you can see the changes. So again, this allows them to go into, it's actually logging them into your account. They're not typing anything in, they don't get any information, but it's taking them right into your account, right to the form directly. They can type in it and save it, and that's all they can do. Okay, so that's the seller's disclosure, which I love. Now, they're going to ask you this, and make sure you mention to them, when you send this to them, they are not signing yet. Let them know, because mine will call and say, I can't sign it. And I've already told them, but I have to remind them. You're not signing, you're just filling it out, because then now I'm going to include it with the rest of the forms and send them all together to you for signing. Okay, and they'll sign that after it's completed. The other form I want to show you is the data sheet. So when I have a listing appointment, go to my data sheet right here, I'm going to open it up. I fill out as much information as I have on the property, and then I go meet with my client and I have them sign everything, and then I fill in the rest of the things that they have on the sheet. But when I come back, I will come back into my data sheet and finish filling this out. And the reason being is that if I fill everything I need on here, I can push this into Paragon and create a partial listing, and then just add a couple things and make it live. This is a huge time saver. So whether it's you or your admins are putting this in for you, they're not going to have to go in and type everything all over again. This is actually going to push it in. You won't have to go back in and make sure there's no typos if you're pushing in what you've already done. It's a huge time saver for everyone. So I'm going to show you how it works. I have to fill in a few things in here. It won't let me push it over. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill in sale. It is a single family. And then I'm just going to have to give me 1 second to refresh this because I'm about to get logged out. Okay. And then see, my session still back up? Yep. Okay, I'm good. All right, I didn't want to log back into Paragon. So sale, single family, a price. So list date, expiration date, these have to be all in there. And then you need to go down to location information. This has to be filled out as well before I let you push it, otherwise they'll give you an error. But obviously when you do this, you want everything filled in, but because of the sake of time that we have right now, I just want to fill in just the bare minimal just to show you this real quick. I'm sure everybody's busy and I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to. So let's see, Clare County and area. So this one is Wheels. Okay, subdivision. I don't even know what subdivision is on this one. Let me see if it even pulled anything up on it. So we'll just make it up. So we'll say township and subdivision, type whatever in here. Okay, should be good. So the main thing again is you need to have this part filled in, this all required part, which is your sale, single family price and dates. And then this location information needs to be filled in. Cross streets isn't a big thing. You should push it still. Once you have those in, and obviously once you have it all in, when you actually do this, you're going to go to the top of your screen and you're going to notice now you have upload listing. This is the only page you're going to see this with. This is the only form that upload listing is an option. Everything else we did earlier, if you remember back, we did not have a button for that. So we're going to click upload listing. Now, don't worry, it's not going to be live. It's going to make a partial. Your partial is good for 90 days. So if you're getting ready to list something, you can at least get things ready and you have all the information, type it all in and let it send it over so it's ready for you. It's going to take a second here. It's going to create a partial number for you in a second once it does complete it. And then I'll take you into Paragon and show you where to find it and to make your changes. Should any second here. Sorry, it's taking a second here. Of course, it wants to slow up on me. Oh, there we go. Perfect. This is what you want to see. The listing, this partial number was successfully sent. Now, if I go back to Paragon and you go under listings, you have on the right under maintain, you can maintain your listings, but you can also maintain partials. So that's considered a partial because it's not live. So you'll hit partials and you're going to select what you want. So I'm going to search for mine. A bunch of partials here from classes. So the last one was my whales. So I'm going to go to the very end here, select an action, and I'm going to maintain my partial. So it's going to open up everything that goes into the listing here. So at this point, you're going to go through and see what's missing. You'll go through each one of these sections. But if you fill everything in your data sheet, you're basically going to come in here and do your status, and you'll have to upload your photos, and you'll have to upload your disclosures. And you should be able to make it live. Once in a while, there'll be a couple of things that might not have pre-filled, but for the most part, I'd say at least 90% of it is already pre-filled for you, if not more. Okay, so this is going to save you a ton of time. So again, all I did was I went into Transaction Desk and I went into my data sheet and filled it all out and just hit that upload listing button. That's it. So that is how you can send those listings in without having to type everything in again. So that'll save you that time, showed you how to do a seller's disclosure statement. So really those are the main things, but I would like to show you where your clause and templates are, how to do those real quick. If you'd like to see them, you're welcome to stay on. We're over our time and I apologize, but I can answer any questions right now before I do the last couple things, which shouldn't take me more than 5 minutes. Is there any other questions? Okay, well, it doesn't look like it looks like somebody asked about disclosures. Is it possible that they don't have disclosures uploaded in their listing? Yes, that does happen. At that point, you have to get the disclosures from the agent and you want to download them on your computer and then upload them in. So remember in documents, or you can just hit that add button and then you can click and pull it and upload them right from your laptop. Okay, so we are done with that. So I'm just going to take you right now into settings real quick. I don't see any other questions, so let me just take you into settings. So if you want to see how we do clauses and transaction templates real quick, I'm walk you through these. So clauses is going to be under settings. So again, top left of your screen, go down to settings, and you're going to go to clauses. Select clauses, and you're going to do a personal clause. So you're going to select personal clause. Once you get to this point, again, we want to look for that add and that plus sign. So top right corner of your screen, and you're going to add a new clause. And all you have to do is name it. So you want to know what you're putting in. So if I'm putting in something for concessions, I want to put in here concessions, so I know which one I'm selecting. Then the content is what's going to actually appear in your contract. So this is where you want to word it, whatever way. So if I want to put concessions, seller to pay, when I do mine, I usually just leave a blank space and then I do a percentage. So that way I have room to type it in once it's in, once it's on my contract. Okay, so concessions towards purchasers. closing costs, aids, operations, whatever way you want to word this, but okay. It's that simple. And then you hit save, which I'm not going to save mine because I have mine already in here. I'm going to close this out. And then you just go to the next. Once they're in here, you can go back in and edit these. So if I want to make a change to this, I can. And then if you don't want something, you can always delete it. Okay, so that's your clauses, very simple. So 3 lines, down to settings, just go to your clauses, and then you're just going to create a personal clause. Make sure you select personal and the add button. The last thing I want to show you, transaction templates. So if you go under your settings again, go all the way down almost to it's a little over the middle of it, transaction templates. This is where you will put all your forms together and create a package. So you don't have to select each form individually. So if you notice, if you have anything with 2 people are created by the office. If it's just 1 person, it's yours. You created it. If you created yourself, you can modify these by clicking on the 3 lines and you can edit or delete them. If you see 2 people on them, unless you are a broker admin that can go in there and make changes, you can't touch those. So to create your own, top right corner of your screen, you hit add and plus. It's going to be your personal. You're going to name it. So I would put my listing package. So you know this is the one that you created in case your office has some. And this is where it knows how to put in those forms in a specific transaction. You have to pick the type. So this is my listing for residential. I'm going to do residential listing here. So when I go through and it pops up in the beginning to create my transaction, and I select that it's residential listing in that package, it knows these are the correct forms. You can put a description in if you want. I usually don't. Hit save. And now it gives you an option to add checklists if you want. You can add your contacts if you want. But what we want, you can add, if you have documents, maybe it's a listing and you have an offer of submission letter that you like agents to fill out, you want to make sure that's included. You can upload these right in here. Anything you want to add, there's a plus sign on the right, and you can add the document right from there. But we're going to go forms is the most important. This is where we get all our forms together. So you can go to forms, hit the plus sign, and it's going to open up, again, all our folders with our forms in it. And you're going to find everything you need. So usually I like to start off in my office folder first, and then just check mark everything that you would include for your listing. So if I want, I don't need to buy and sell, so I need my listing, my data sheet, my disclosure regarding agency relationship. Obviously I want that. I'm going to want my right to sell agreement, and I want a data sheet. Here my data sheet is. You want your open house, if you have an open house release lockbox authorization form, you want to include that. Seller's disclosure, because we need them to fill that out. We want our lead-based paint. So again, you would select everything you want, hit add. It drops it on this page for you. And then once it's here, now you can modify these. So you can go back in and you can preview it, delete it, you can edit the form, but it just give you a couple options. And you can also reorder these. So I like my right to sell agreement first. Maybe I want my open house next. Maybe I want my self disclosure at the top to do first, so I don't forget to send that to them first. So whatever order you want. And then once you're done, that's it. It saves. You don't have to hit a save button. You're good. And this is all set. So later on, if you come back in, you go back to your settings again, transaction templates, and then you can click on that and make any changes you want for your new one that you just put in. Okay. And that's it. That's transaction templates. So that is everything. I know I overloaded everyone. I gave you a lot of information. I know there's a lot here. Again, those PDFs side of your box, go ahead and download those, please, that Debbie put on there. They're great. Those are going to be very helpful. Is there a question or something I need to show again right now before we end our class? So let me see if I have any questions. A second here. And then if you're good, you are all set. You don't have to stay on the class, but if there's a question, I will answer it before I hang up. I'm just looking to see if everything's been answered. I think I answered, hopefully Cindy, I answered your question if you're still on about the seller blocks. I'm hoping that I did that one. And if I didn't, tell me again, send it to me and I'll take care of it right now. And it looks like everything else I think I answered. So I believe I answered anything. If not, please, tech support's here to help And if there's anything else we can do, and please come back to our classes. It's hopefully, you know, this was helpful for you. But if you use those handouts, they are broken down by section. So whatever you need help with, and you can follow along, and we try to do screenshots. And the other place for any help you need, if you go back to Paragon, on your first page, MLS documents in the top of your screen, that will give you, under our MLS folder, an education folder. This education folder has 81 cheat sheets. So Debbie's been great. We've created a bunch of them. She tries to put them in alphabetical order for you, but you can also type in whatever you're looking for. So if I just want transaction desk, I can type this in, and anything with transaction desk instructions will pull up for me. When you click on them, it downloads a PDF for you. Very easy to use. Okay, so I think we've gone through everything. I don't see any questions, so I hope I was able to get through everything, and I apologize if it was too fast, or hopefully I didn't miss it. But again, to start a transaction from the listing itself, and click on your shortcut to write an offer, or go directly into transaction desk under resources, and that will get you there to do a listing. All right, well, it was great having everyone in my class today. Again, you are welcome to come back to as many classes as you'd like, and please, tech support's here to help anytime you need help. So thanks for being in the class, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.